Today we're stepping inside 3 stunning Bay Area homes where creativity, history, and California living shape every detail. First, we head to Sonoma's idyllic wine country to tour the breathtaking 1875 estate of antique dealer and Chateau Sonoma founder Sarah Anderson, the owner of one of the first 5 homes in Sonoma.
So we did wraparound porches as well, just because people in Sonoma, they like to live inside, indoors, outdoors. So it's kind of a way to experience that here.
Then we head to visit interior designer Lisa Furtado, who specializes in indoor-outdoor living at her luminous Sonoma home, where layered, soothing interiors meet lush gardens and a backyard built for entertaining.
And it was so cool to see the house in its original state. I think for any homeowner of a historic home, it's such a gift to see a house in its original state, but especially as a designer.
And finally, we're in San Francisco visiting content creator Bergen Flom, whose modern folk style blends rich redwood-inspired hues with clever DIY transformations and eclectic artwork collected from her travels.
You'll see kind of throughout the home. In the living room, I made a color palette kind of inspired by the redwood forest. There's really nothing like walking into a redwood forest for the first time.
Together, these 3 homes embody the spirit of the Bay Area, creative, relaxed, historic, and beautifully connected to the landscape around them. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Thank you to Boll & Branch for sponsoring today's Homeworthy episode. One thing I've learned after touring many incredible spaces is that a home doesn't feel quite right until the bedroom is settled and a beautiful bed is made. You can renovate and redesign, but if you're still sleeping on old sheets, it never feels finished. Boll & Branch has transformed our bedroom with this dreamy new bedding. Their sheets are made from 100% organic cotton, and you can feel the difference immediately from the moment you take them out of the packaging to how they soften night after night. They're breathable, they hold their shape, and they just bring a sense of calm to your sleeping experience. This is the simplest way to upgrade how you rest every single night. If you're ready to start fresh, you can shop Boll & Branch using the link in the description box below and use code HOMEWORTHY15 for an exclusive discount to upgrade your sleep, because beautiful homes deserve beautiful sleep. Today, we're in California's idyllic wine country visiting antique dealer and Chateau Sonoma founder Sarah Anderson at her breathtaking 19th century home and farm. One of the first 5 homes built in Sonoma, this Gothic Victorian masterpiece with French-inspired interiors is both a cherished residence for Sarah and her son, as well as a gathering place where she hosts local artisans and makers to celebrate French living with a California twist. Designed for seamless indoor-outdoor living, the bright, inviting first-floor rooms open onto a wraparound porch, an outdoor dining space, and a cinematic pool. The grounds feature romantic French-style gardens, a 2-story barn, an olive grove and vineyard, and some friendly 4-legged residents. Grand yet intimate, this charming home stands as a testament to Sarah's thoughtful stewardship of this historic estate, ensuring it will thrive and flourish for generations to come. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome. My name is Sarah, and I would love for you to come in and welcome you to my home. My name is Sarah Anderson, and I am the owner of Chateau Sonoma. It's a French antique and lifestyle business, and I would just like to welcome you to my home here in Sonoma. So this home is one that I've been coming to for many years, even before I owned the home, because my friend Annalise McDonald lived here. She would have these beautiful dinner parties, and I remember she'd have all the neighbors over and this big long table with candles burning, and it was just this very inviting place to be. I also really enjoyed the barn because they would have these art shows and things, and Jock McDonald kept all of his photography. That's where he did most of his photography. His darkroom was up there, and it was just a very cool artsy space. And so he would invite people from the community to come from time to time, and that was always so much fun to kind of meet new artists and to really have this fun kind of experience in somebody's home. And they were very generous and very, they liked to share their home, and they had parties all the time. So I knew about this house before, and one evening I was over at DeRosa Preserve. They were having a big party, and they said, oh, we sold our house and we're moving to Brooklyn. And I thought, no way, like how sad, I'll never be able to go to this house again. So after a while, they called me and said, you know, the deal fell through and that the house was still available for sale. And I was pregnant at the time, and I came here with my former husband. We wandered around and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So we ended up making an offer, knowing that there was going to be a tremendous amount of work to do. So that's when the whole process started with restoring this house, because it was built in 1875 and it hadn't had a major remodel since then. So it was time to kind of give it a facelift. So that's when we embarked on this, how do we get it to stand for another 100 years? This is the living room, and people walk in and they love these watercolors. They were in a book actually that we took apart and we framed each one, and this was at our culinary school. And when we closed the culinary school, I was very happy to be able to bring these back home, because I feel like this really softens the room a lot. And there was just a lot of blank wall here. We had one piece over the sofa, but then this whole collection came here. So there's pieces all throughout the living room in here. And I think it's a really lovely, softens everything just a little bit. And then this is our main seating area. This is where we do sit by the fire in the winter time. We have the chess game here, and this sofa is from Varela. I love it. We carry it in the shop as well. And this is an old chicken coop, so that's back to my chicken days, chicken roots. And we just turned it into a coffee table and put a piece of glass over the top of it. So we try to use like vintage pieces and figure out how to repurpose them so people can use them in a very functional way in their home. And so I think this works out really, really well for us. And then, as you can tell, I love the taxidermy. We have the deer above the fireplace that stays all year round, even though I was thinking it would be a seasonal thing for the winter, but it's just such a fun showstopper. And the doe eyes, it's such a pretty piece just to be around, and it's got a very gentle spirit. And the little owl and some birds around. And I just like cabinet de curiosité, and you'll see them in other rooms in the house as well. But it's just kind of a collection of your favorite things that I've collected over the years, little paintings, little plein air paintings, and then the collection of mushrooms that came from a school. So it's really fun to kind of collect different things from the flea markets in France. And this is basically one of my absolute favorite collections, and there's all different styles. It was from a school when they're studying different types of mushrooms, and they're made of plaster. So I bought the whole collection, and it's just really fun for shelf displays. And this fireplace is pretty much the central part of the whole house, and we were very fortunate that we could still build fires in this fireplace because it was grandfathered in because it's been around for so long. But when the house was originally built, it had a coal burning stove here, so we had to pull that out. And then this is what Pascal did and made it look really beautiful inside with the brick, the way he laid the brick and these old French tiles. And this I found at a salvage yard in France, along with the fountain that's in front of the house. And so we imported these, and then Pascal was able to put it into he did all of the work, so it looks like it's been here for about 100 years or longer. These are directoires, and these shelves came from my favorite dealer in France named Laurence Langlard, who actually built the nooks around the pieces. So this was a whole wall here before, and we just created that when we did the remodel in the house, and they just fit absolutely perfectly. And I just think these ladders are so fun. It's a folding ladder. You can find them in France all the time. Sometimes they're picking ladders. Sometimes they're ladders that they use to get to the libraries up above and to get to books. But I think it's fun just to put them around because you can use them as like a little shelf to put your glass of wine if you're sitting by the fire. And they're very functional to hold like the taxidermy, and also you can stack books on them as well. So it's just a very useful piece, and it doesn't take up much room, and you can move it around very easily. So I highly recommend them in houses. I always, whenever I can find like little 3-step stools, I always buy them because they're nice between chairs as well. So these mirrors I had in the shop, there's a pair of them and they're my absolute favorite. I brought them into the store. They were available for sale for about a year. They didn't sell, so I just brought them home because I just thought I can't take this anymore, and they were hard to move around in the shop. And I'm so happy that I did because I think they go beautifully with this whole, but things kind of rotate in and out of the shop. I think it's fun that I have this sort of tableau here where we can place the pieces, show people how to live with the pieces and use the pieces, and then sometimes they pop into Chateau Sonoma if I get tired of them, or I find another piece that I want to put in its place. Instead of putting it in storage, I get to bring it to the shop and let other people enjoy it, and it gets a whole new life. And I am a bar obsessed with bars. I have no idea why, but this is a zinc top bar. Again, I love the patina. It's not like too painted, and it kind of took it down to the oak. It had more paint on it before, and then we kind of sanded it down. And I just think a bar in every home is really fun because when people come over, I can shake them a martini or just make a nice little, even I bring the wine or the champagne out here, and it's just very fun to let people kind of feel like they're in a bar in your home. And it's the central part of the whole house. And I do my cocktail hours every Friday night for Chateau Sonoma. I interview different people in the wine country or that are doing things that are related to the store, and so I always set up my little stand here, and we have a little toast on Fridays at 5:30. Always a sucker for botanicals. I like that we have the watercolors over here, and then these botanicals sort of speak to them, but these are actually real botanicals that have been preserved over the years. And I love this dealer in Avignon who always has them. So whenever I do get to Avignon Flea Market, I always buy them and bring them into the shop. Some of them they sell just individually, but I think it's just a really beautiful piece. And always have to have some greenery in the house. And the fiddle leaf fig is something that just keeps growing. I've cut it back like multiple times. It grows all the way to the ceiling sometimes. And I finally found, these are the old Anduze pots, and oftentimes they have paint on them, but I love this one because the paint has all come off. It's a really old one, probably from the early, from the late, around the time of the house, 1875. So I absolutely love it. It's a perfect home for my fiddle leaf fig. And here is the sister to the other mirror. And then we have all of my guitars. I decided to take up guitar and singing like in my 50s. I don't know why, I just felt like I needed to have again, get back to my roots because my mom had all of us children play different instruments. So had this opportunity to bring this piano in, and this is from the Jack London period, so early 1900s, and I think it fits very well into the house. It flips up, and so when people come to play, it's very center stage. And we also do events here. We do music events. We're going to have Festival Napa Valley come and do a private dinner and have some pianists come and play. So it's just a really lovely space and the acoustics in here are very, very nice. So. And then we have more of the watercolors here. The sun sets right over here. So if it's coming in and hits the wood, it's not so good. So I have to close these blinds in the afternoon. And from the outside, we'll show you that the windows are curved at the top. And I just think that they're just such nice little details that add so much character to a room. And I also love the chandeliers in this space as well. I found these in Avignon. They don't exactly match, but I don't need everything to match. I kind of think it's nice when you don't have everything perfectly symmetrical and perfectly matchy-matchy. So it's nice that one's a little bit more ornate than the other. So my design style kind of morphed into French because, like I said, I lived in Spain, I've lived in Mexico. I thought I had a more Latin vibe, but then when I went to France, and it's like, you know how they just wrap a piece of chocolate like in this perfect wrapping, they put it in the perfect little box, and everything feels very special. And I kind of really bought into that hook, line, and sinker, like all the details with even their, dish drying, towels with the little detail with the stripes. And if you look at some of these paintings too, like everything has like a very interesting detail. I love taxidermy. That's another thing that I would say is very incorporated into this design. Every time I go back to Paris, I go to Design and Nature, one of my favorite taxidermy places in France, and buy like a little finch. They're animals that have already passed, so she takes them and then gives them a new life for your home. And I love like the deer that I have in the background, and I also the little birds, and I have a fox upstairs. And it's just like they are spirit animals to me. Like it's like having an animal without actually having to take care of it. Although we have a lot of animals that we have to take care of as well. Little miniature horse out in the front with a couple of goats. But with regard to French design, like I love the andouille pots. The bar, it's always like a central, bars are my obsession. I love the zinc tops, and they have this nice wavy finish, and I like patina. I love anything with a little bit of patina, and you can kind of see there's it's not serious French antiques that are very heavy with the lacquered wood. I don't really like that. I like the more oak, more raw wood. I like just a little bit of paint where the wood is shining through. And you can see on all the pieces that I have in my house, including these mirrors right here on the wall, they all have like just a lovely, lovely patina. I think that's the most important for me. I buy what I love. I'm not like a very serious antique dealer where I'm looking at the exact period and who was the artist who created it, and I just buy what I love and what I think would be affordable for people in the store, and kind of has to have that chateau-y vibe, which I always feel like is that painterly kind of washed out look. Okay, so this is the dining room. This is where we do all of our entertaining. It's a very nice long table, and I love it. It's one of my favorites. I'm trying to have it reproduced for the shop because it has these different pieces that come apart. You can fold it up, you can store it very easily. So I love that. This is a line that we created with a local artist from Sonoma. Her name is Kayla Stein. And it was like all the pieces over the last 24 years that we've been in business that I've collected, and so shared them with her, and we came up with this really fun concept of at the farm. She comes here seasonally and collects things in the garden, and she rolls the botanicals into the pottery. She fires them twice so they're dishwasher safe. They stack beautifully, and I have to say we finally found the perfect tabletop collection because it can be elevated, it can be very just everyday use, and it's, like I said, dishwasher safe, so it's very fun. It's fig season on the farm. We like to use everything that we grow here on the property, so figs are online right now, so we bring them into the shop, but there's too many for just even our customers, so we're going to be working with different restaurants in town and sharing the bounty of the farm. And I also love, as I said, like collections. Here's another shelf with all kinds of things that I absolutely love. I used to have a line of pottery here that moved to Chateau Sonoma. And then I started adding little plein air paintings that I collect when I'm in France. And we also have a gentleman who's a local artist, Dave Woodside, who always brings in these little plein air paintings with scenes of Sonoma. So I always think the little paintings on the shelf always add so much life. And the wicker, these are all vintage wicker for water and wine. That's how they would store them in France. And so I always collect those as well. And like I said, things kind of come and go. If like, oh, the Eiffel Tower heads to Chateau Sonoma, and I'll find something else to kind of take its place. And one of my absolute favorite pieces in this room is the chandelier. And what I love about it is for a billiard table, and it's made of bronze and brass, and it was done by an artist, all handmade, all the different components come out of it, and it's extraordinary. I had it, again, in the shop for a few years. It was a little pricey, so it didn't sell, and I brought it into my home, and I just think it's one of those things that might live here from now on, because I just think it's kind of perfect over this table. It gives it just enough light, and in the evening it gives that, and it's on a dimmer, so it just has a beautiful ambiance. And then one of my favorite pieces in this room as well, I think I have a lot of favorite pieces in this room, is this angel, Gabriel. And I feel like it's just kind of standing over the table, protecting, making sure that there's like a nice peacefulness to this room. Has the old glass eyes, and again, we talk about patina a lot, how it just has that perfect amount where it's not too painted and no one restored it back to its original, but just let it do the age thing and just get more and more beautiful as the years go by. And this mirror too is nice because it kind of reflects the back of the angel as well, so you can see all the detail in the wings, and it's all hand carved, and we'll have to say it's extraordinary. People are always very curious about this beehive and about this piece because they don't know what it is, first of all, but it is actually a French beehive, and I collect them, and you can see there's one over here. And there's two up on top of that shelf right there. And basically the bees build their hives inside. They come straight down, and it's a magical thing to watch them do the harvesting of the honey. And people can't figure out how it works. So I need to have a video in the store to show people because it really is. The bees are magical. And as you can see, more taxidermy. That's a barn owl that was a gift to me from a friend who is a fellow antique dealer who passed away. So I feel like spirit's living on in this dining room with us all. So I also have to show you this one piece that Kayla Stein created for Chateau Sonoma, and I brought this here because I think it's so special. She did this as a surprise for us, but this is our logo for Chateau Sonoma, and she made a special piece out of the same clay and the glaze that she uses for our tabletop collection. And mushrooms again. Oh my goodness, we have, I must have a mushroom fetish because we have these are all carved from one piece of wood. And I, again, trying to get these replicated because everybody would love to buy these and I would love to sell them, but it's really hard when there's only one of a kind. So I'm trying to figure out if any woodworkers out there that want to help me on this project. It would be so much fun. It's just like all the detail under here. They paid so much attention, like they just took a mushroom and did exactly what it looked like from the, finish to all the little fine details underneath. So hopefully we'll be able to get those replicated because it seems like a lot of people are very into mushrooms these days, and I think it would be just a fun thing to have in homes all across the country. Okay, so we're just leaving the indoor dining room and heading to the outdoor dining room. So we created this really beautiful overhang here. Kevin, who did the stove top, he's a metal worker that lives here in town, Steel Cherry, and then he built this structure over here, and then we brought this from France, all the way from France on a container. It's the landing of a chateau, it's limestone, it's very, very heavy. It weighs about 4 tons, and they had to bring a sky lift over, and we had to build the bases for it to like lay on top of, but I am so happy that we did because it just feels like so permanent and people love sitting at this table. It's always a conversation piece, perfect height for dining, and it makes everything on top of it look so special. So we love dining here. Even we have farm day, we all kind of sit around this table as well. And this chandelier I absolutely love. I found this at the Paris flea markets north of Paris, and I ruminated about it because it was very expensive, and I thought, you know what, the next day it was still there, and I brought it all the way from France here, and it lights up at night. It's on a timer, so it just sort of gives it the nice glow back here in the backyard. The birds love it too. I'm not quite certain how they got inside, but there's been a nest there every single year that we put it here for the last 3 years, and I think they like it maybe because the light gives them a little bit of warmth or something, but it's just a very fun novelty piece, and I like bringing things that were kind of intended to the inside outside as well. So we just bring this out here for the summertime. So the house is a Gothic Victorian style, 1875, and we worked with the Historical Society. It's not a historical home, so it doesn't have all of the restrictions that we would have to have normally if it were on the registry, but they were very interested in this house because it was one of the 5 homes that was built in Sonoma, one of the first 5 homes. I had thought that it was a kit home, but those didn't start until about the 1900s, and people told me it was a kit home, but in essence it was a custom build, but things were still having to be railed over from the East Coast. So when we took the home down to the studs, there was like big beams that would say Sonoma, California on them. So all the components would be ordered from different companies like Montgomery Ward's, and like the staircase was already built, and then it was railed over. So the components of it were like that. But then the custom work came in with all the plaster moldings, all of the plaster walls. And so we had to replicate all of that, which was very complicated because a lot of people don't do that kind of work in this day and age. So it was a very fun process, but a very cumbersome one. And we had to have some go-arounds because there were some artisans that were like, we can't take these 2-foot moldings and make them anymore. So we would take the plaster moldings and have them redone in wood. The renovation took about a year. It actually happened very fast. People can't believe, like, oh my gosh, you did all that in 1 year. But in fact, we did. We had to put these big beams underneath, and they raised the house up 8 feet. And when that happened, we had all the plaster started crumbling and cracking. So we had to take it down to the studs. And then all of the knob and tube had to be replaced. So all of the electrical, it was Pandora's box. When we opened up that can of worms, we had to like start dealing with everything from that hadn't been changed probably since the 1930s. And then the windows are one of my favorite aspects of the house, because when you look outside, the glass is 150 years old. So it starts dripping over time. So each window that you look out of, it looks like it's a dream. It's kind of wavy glass. So with every visual, it kind of gives it that really dreamy look. But all those windows had to be taken out because they're on the pulley system. And so we had to have a specialist that just dealt with the windows to kind of reframe all of them, redo the pulleys, and get them back in working order. So that was a lot of work. And I had the good fortune of meeting many French people that work on homes. They're called master craftsmen, and they have to travel all over France in order to learn all the different techniques of how to install chimneys, how to install fireplace surrounds, how to do the plaster, all the different kinds of elements that go into the houses. And Pascal is a gentleman who lives here in Sonoma, and he said, I'd be happy to do this work for you. So he installed the fireplaces, he did all of the plaster, and the plaster is so unique because he added color, and then he would put another color inside a spray bottle. And so while the plaster was still wet, he would spray it with like maybe some black, so it gives it that really distinct look. So I was really happy to have him. So it kind of has a little bit of a French twist to it, but still staying very true to what the house would have been back then. Okay, and it might get a little louder in here because we have a finch that is very verbal and loves to have conversations in the morning. So I always sit and have my morning coffee right there, and we have a nice chat. This is one of my favorite spots in the kitchen because it's just a nice the morning light. You can look outside, you can see views of the pool. And this is all wisteria that grows over this little alcove that we have out here. So it's bright purple. And then the roses are usually orange. It's kind of late summer right now, so we don't have as many blooms, but it still looks very nice because it's all very green. And again, the old glass makes it a nice little dreamy look. So we tried to keep the kitchen as true to how it was originally, but we did have to make some changes. So there was a staircase back here that went up to the room upstairs. So we removed the staircase and we opened this up, and it also didn't have porches. So we did wraparound porches as well, just because people in Sonoma, they like to live inside, indoors, outdoors. So it's kind of a way to experience that here. And I don't know why they didn't have the decks in the original house, but it's really nice that we were able to do that. And this gets a lot more light now that the staircase is gone. But I put in soapstone for the countertops. People thought I was crazy because they're black, but they have this nice, I don't know, timeless appeal to them. And I feel like the house has the black trim, and it was a nice way to kind of keep that going. And marble, I felt was going to be too fussy for our household. So this is soapstone, picked out my slabs, and then also all of the woodwork for the cabinetry was done by a gentleman from Mill Valley. I think he did a really great job. I was able to find this old vintage hardware from the Golden Lion, which is very period. So I think it kind of fits right into what we're doing and trying to be cognizant of, the house and the integrity of what they would have done in the period of 1875. And the cabinetry as well, we did with chalk paint. And Pascal, who did all of the beautiful plaster, he did it in here as well. He created a really lovely finish, so it looks like it's vintage. It looks old, like it does with the old pieces of furniture. So I'm really, really happy about that. People always ask about the refrigerator because it is, again, very unusual. You don't usually see this, and we wanted it to go with the Wedgwood stove because the Wedgwood stove was included in about 1930. I finally found a guy to restore it, and he comes every year to make sure everything is working properly. But this is the Heartland. They don't really make them in this same style anymore, but basically it is a KitchenAid. It's like a regular refrigerator that they just put a casing over it. So it's been nice. I had to replace my refrigerator one time in the last 15 years, and I was able to take the doors off and add them to the new piece. So it's very vintage looking, I think it fits very nicely into this space. And then Kevin Cherry, who is a metal worker, he used to live here. His sister is Annalise, who was the owner of this house, Jock and Annalise McDonald. And he worked out in the shed over there with all of his metal work. So he does a lot of new builds here in Sonoma and creates custom stovetops and puts in staircases, all kinds of things where you would use metal. And I think it looks absolutely beautiful with the Wedgwood. And again, I try to bring in all my little French elements. So this is enamelware. This is where we house the salt and keep it very vintage. And this is an old tea kettle, enamel tea kettle. And the floors came from Country Floors in San Francisco, and they're actually terracotta. They've been painted, and then they have a little wax finish on the top of them. And I did not continue to use the wax because they were a little too shiny. It's also been able to pick up some of the patina that I really like. So now you can see a little bit over the years, in the last 15 years that we've been here, that the terracotta starts showing through a little bit. Some people may not like that look, but I personally think it kind of adds character and it makes it look like the house has been here forever. So I have all kinds of Ostia di Villat that I love, which is a white pottery. Many people collect it. We also carry that in the shop, but it's just these beautiful pieces that you can use for serving, for dinner parties and things like that. So I love that we have the shelving space and we're able to design this so all of my favorite pieces I can showcase when people come over, and we can use them for entertaining as well. What I really love about this house too is it has 2 sinks. So when you have guests over, it's like you have an extra sink, and then we cleverly put these little drawer dishwashers in too, which I think is a very, very fun element. And then I always stack my cookbooks. So these are the ones that I carry in the shop and what I'm kind of focused on right now with regard to picking out recipes of the week. And French at Heart is really good. These people live in Burgundy in France, and it's my new favorite go-to. And there's always like random things like scales where you can throw some bananas or whatever fresh fruit you're doing, and it's just kind of a fun little whimsical element. I like things that hang because it gives it that other dimension. And then we have champagne buckets, of course, because you always need that when you're entertaining. And these are called gendarmes, and basically they would hold water, and that's what you could see in those cases that have the wicker around them. But I just use them for vases. You can just stick some long stem flowers or roses in here, and they look really, really beautiful. And on to, this is the newest addition, is this table that we just got in on our last container. It's 2 demi-lune tables. So you put them together and they make this beautiful round table. I think they look really lovely. These are wicker chairs that we carry in the shop as well. And I just brought them in because I thought I need to sit in them before I, and see how they wear before I bring them into the shop. They are beautiful. People love them. They like sitting in them. So it's a perfect, and then these are lovely because they're the demi-lunes. So you could use them as side tables. You can use it as a round table. And I think it's really lovely. And this piece I got a really long time ago from Love Train Antiques in Atlanta. And basically the guy, Mark, would take the old doors from, cabinets or whatever, and he would build the pieces of furniture around these vintage doors, and the hardware on them still works beautifully. And this is where the space that I use to teach people how to do shelfies, because I think it's really fun to teach people how to play with their different things that they in their collections in their kitchens and display them really lovely. Because everything I use, you know, there's the bread baskets here. I use these vases for water and pitchers when I'm entertaining, but it's nice to kind of make them look really fun and display them lovely in your kitchen. In 2001, I was working in the financial industry in San Francisco, and I worked for many banks. I had just gotten married and I had moved to Sonoma, and I was doing the commute back and forth, and it got really tiresome. So we had a building, my former husband and I, in Sonoma downtown, and I just thought, hey, I might just give it a whirl and try a different business. And I've always been into interior design, and I've always loved furniture, so I thought I'd give it a whirl. And I met a woman named Carrie Miller. She said she was leaving her job at this interior design business, and that she would love to take me to Europe with her. And she had a friend that had an apartment in Paris, so we started there, and then my plan was to move on to Spain. But we found so many beautiful antiques. She took me to one antique fair called Chatou that's right outside of Paris. And I felt like we hit the mother lode, right? And within like 3 days, we had enough furniture to load up in a container and bring back to Sonoma. So that's sort of the beginnings of Chateau Sonoma. So Chateau Sonoma, when I was flying back from France, on the back of a napkin, just thought like chateau life, castles. You know, there's so many like similarities between life in France and life here, especially in the countryside down in Provence. And we had gone down there as well. So I thought, like, how do I kind of bring this lifestyle to wine country? So that's kind of been my mission for the past 24 years, is to figure out how to continue to travel back to France, learn as much as I can about the lifestyle, and bring all of this home, including, you know, antiques, and we do a little fashion component of Chateau Sonoma, and we do French flea markets. So we took the whole concept of the French flea markets that we love so much, where you have rosé during the day, you're eating, you know, sausage in the morning, and we have all of that we bring to Chateau Sonoma. We do it once a year, Memorial Day weekend. We've been doing that for 20 years. We have a champagne club, so people are very excited about tasting new, smaller houses. And so we're always celebrating everything that the French do. Cheeses and crepes we have in the back of Chateau Sonoma. And the store is just a beautiful reflection of all of our collections over the years, and continuing to bring the French lifestyle to Sonoma. And this is the family room. It's so quiet in here. It's on the north-facing side of the house. So outside the window is the hydrangeas, with the outdoors coming in, and this ginormous tree, locust tree, that's been here since the beginning of probably when the house was built. But what I love about this room is, again, like, not doing everything French. This is a contemporary artist from Cuba named Coperi, and he's my absolute favorite artist. And at Chateau Sonoma, we were able to do and have him come to this country, and we did a beautiful show with his artwork, and he even included some elements from Chateau Sonoma. And my son was playing violin at the time, so this is not a picture of my son, but it's kind of the idea. And I just think it's so clever, so whimsical, so charged, and it's just nice to have different pieces that are kind of unexpected. This is an old gym. It's made out of leather. It's a gym mat that was converted into a coffee table, and I love it because it's so comfortable. Again, it's like, I think guests feel really at home. They just stick their feet up here and feel no problem doing that at all. Again, I don't want anything to be too fussy. This is a chair that I bought for Chateau Sonoma, but somehow it ended up there, and I was just doing a photo shoot to have a little picture of it, and then somehow it just ended up here. But it actually is, the problem was it was so comfortable, and it's right here by the window. So I always just come here, have my little afternoon drink, and then read a book or journal, and it's just so peaceful. And this bookcase, it's a perfect view of this gorgeous bookcase. Again, I had this at Chateau Sonoma for a while. It didn't sell, and I thought, well, I'll just bring it home and see what it looks like. And I'm glad that I did, because it has all that beautiful work along the top of it, with the cutout wood, I feel like it just has so much beauty, and it doesn't have a back to it, so it's just pushed up against the wall with the crossbars, and so you can see the plaster coming through. So it looks like the back of it, but it's actually just the actual wall. And because we have earthquakes here, we had to attach it to the wall, which we've had to do with a lot of pieces. So now I feel like it's a little bit more permanent fixture here in this room. And this is the office, and I love this space because the desk basically looks out into the front of the house, and it's got this nice meandering road it's lined with trees, and I can always see people coming and going. And this old desk, it's again more of a directoire period. It's got the nice little curved legs and black. I have a lot of black in here, but it doesn't feel too heavy, I don't think. But this room is again directoire, my favorite designer in France, my favorite antique dealer, Laurence Lenglart, picked this piece out as well, so I love it. It has all of my favorite things. This is what you call a cabinet de curiosité in French, and it's a cabinet of curiosities. So all these interesting little things, from taxidermy birds to old prints, books. This is a globe de mariage that is very cool. So if you're getting married, it has this glass dome that goes over the top of it, but the innards are all made with bronze and mirrors. And so you would put like your tiara on there, or like all the little things that you had from your wedding. It would go under this globe de mariage, maybe a little photo or there's little strands of hair in this one. And I love them just to house nests and things like that. And the glass broke, so I just used the innards in here. But they're very fun. There's two. There's one right here too, and you can see this vintage tiara, the little seed pearls, which I love. And then this fireplace also came from France, and Pascal did the same thing. I have to get that cleaned in there so you can see the brickwork, but it's kind of over the years I've been using it for fires. And this old clock that was in a train station many years ago, and I rarely find them in wood. People always ask if they work, and they don't work because the back mechanisms that, in order to get it flush to the wall, you can't have all the mechanisms on the back. But I absolutely think this whole ensemble works very well. And as you can see, I'm a sucker for club chairs too. We have them in the living room, we have them in the office, but this is just a lovely place to come and sit again in the winter. When the winter months come, I light a little fire, and it's just nice to use all the different rooms, because I feel like, again, people don't have the luxury of having fires anymore. So it's nice just to be able to sit by a fire that brings sort of the feelings of fall and winter into the house, and it's nice to be able to enjoy the different rooms here. And this is the master bedroom, and it has a Louise Mann, a friend of mine who's an interior designer, created this giant headboard. And she felt like because the ceilings were so high, we really needed to have a big piece. And I had 2 queen-size beds that I had pushed together for a while. And then I decided I just wanted one bed. So my friend Susan Varish helped me with all of the linen covers. And then we have a friend who makes these beautiful pillows, Traco. And we carry these pillows in the shop, which are really nice because she has a sheep farm down in Chile, and she makes all of her pieces with the wool. And I like this bed because I feel like it fits with the scale of the room. This room, we took the ceilings up when we did the remodel in the house and brought it back to the original wood. And so that was just a lovely way to make it seem like a little bit more open instead of having the ceilings down at 8 feet. And also housed my beautiful chandelier, which is pretty much one of my favorite pieces in this room, because it's from the 19th century, and you would put candles in there. And I obviously don't have candles in it, but I think just in and of itself, it's an extraordinary sculptural piece that just stands on its own, even though I could wire it up and put lights in it, but I just kind of like it just the way that it is. I always keep paintings in here, and I like this plaster. It was a very accidental thing. Like, I don't think he meant for it to be so two-toned, but it ended up that way. And again, I just asked him to keep it because I really like it. It looks like the old furniture, and it gives it just that really lovely patina. And I have all my personal pictures and photos in here in this room, and I sometimes do my writing there, but my favorite part of this whole experience is the outside in the morning. I always open up because the sun rises over that horizon over there. I have a nice little place to have my coffee right here. And these gardens, every day it's different. There's many gardens in France that I get very inspired by. So when we did the landscaping here, this was one feature that I loved. You create kind of a framework for your garden with the boxwoods. And I think it really looks better from a bird's eye view than when you're in it. So this is my favorite viewing point. So this is the master bathroom, and what I love, I didn't want to make too many decisions when we were remodeling the house, so I kept the same soapstone, I kept the same cabinetry color, just because I think it's kind of nice when things weave throughout the house, and the floor is the same as it is in the kitchen. And this is one of my favorite pieces in the house. This is an old vintage sign on metal, painted, and it survived all these years. I love the gilding on it. And it's a tailleur de pour dames et messieurs, which is a tailor for women and for men. I love the shape of it. It's got like just this very old world feel, and it kind of ties in all the black again. And we also have this beautiful statue here that I joke with my girlfriends that this is my boyfriend. He doesn't really talk too much, doesn't talk back. He's made of plaster, and you know, we get along. And the mirror kind of just frames everything. This is the one long mirror that I have in the house, and I love it because I can see head to toe, because I don't have too many like mirrors of this size, and the lighting is really good in here as well. And the tub is extraordinary, and the fixtures I think really go well with the house. This came from the company. It's down at the design center in San Francisco. It's called the Julia. And I love it because it really does kind of have a period look to it. And this is just a lovely soaking tub. And it's one of my favorite features of the house. And I do take a bath pretty much, I don't know, once a week at least. The way I describe like how I want people to feel when they come in is just like a big bear hug. Like nothing fussy, like just feeling comfortable and at home. That's really, really important to me. And scale for me is important as well. I think sometimes in these ginormous houses where you have a coffee table that's, you know, 5 feet long, and then it sits away from the sofa, and you're going to get a piece of cheese and you have to like get up off of the sofa to get to it. Like I just like smaller. That's what I like about French style, because it's like I feel like smaller, more intimate spaces where you have a chair and a little small table where you can have your coffee or put your appetizers for people to be able to you know, not have to reach, or it's not like this big ginormous space. I like things that make it feel like more comfortable and intimate settings. Okay, so this is the guest room, and I always like to do things kind of in color, you know, in theme. And I just had this painting here. This is from the Little Women illustrator, originally, that did the book, the illustrations for the book. And we bought it at an auction years and years ago, and I decided that it would be a good idea just to make this whole room kind of talk to this one painting, because it's the one kind of piece of actually, you know, period art that I do have. So I thought this would be really fun to kind of bring in some pink. So then these are the Lysianthus that come from the garden, and this room just feels so good. And the fountain is right outside, so at night, if you are sleeping here, people say they sleep like a baby because it's just so soothing with the fountain going at night. Okay, so this is the dressing room. I decided to devote a whole room just to getting dressed, because it's so hard when you had this. I had this small closet. It was very dark and I could never find anything, and I had this extra room, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to store things in here. It became a storage room, and then I decided to turn it into a closet. So I had California Closets come in and build out these. And then I have this case that I found. It's an old antique, and it has all these little hooks. It was actually for a hotel where you'd put all the keys, but I was able to just hang my jewelry in here. And it's just a lovely space, and the lighting is perfect. So when you're getting ready, putting on your makeup and things, it's very easy to do and get lots of light and a full-length mirror. And this is some of my favorite photography. Georges Dambier from France was the first photographer to take women outside of the studio and film them in the streets of Paris. And I had the good fortune of going to his home in the south of France where he had to go. He had a triple bypass and he went back to his family home and lived there. And it was so much inspiration for my gardens here, going to his house and also his photography. So I bought these 3 pieces. And then my friend Norma Quintana said, you need another one. And so she dressed me all up and took me to the entryway of my house and just said, smile pretty. And she took this black and white that she thought was reminiscent of these painting or these photographs that he did. And I quite like it. I had never had like a professional photo shoot for myself. So it was a very interesting process, but I think it really turned out nice. And it's just a nice way to be able to see everything before you get dressed in the morning. Okay, so this was the wraparound porch that I was telling you about, and this is where we spend most of our time, over on those chairs, or we're dining over here. It's so fun, especially this time of year. It's perfect. And this is the more formal area of the garden that I kind of went to Valandry, and I really like how they used boxwoods to kind of frame everything. So I think it gives it a lot of structure. And then these are the roses, the white roses, they just seem to just bloom all summer long if you keep cutting them back, and so I use them in the house quite a bit. And these are the amazing lemons that keep coming back year after year. We have about 5 trees, and we harvest them every year, and we take them to a gal over called Baker and Cook, and Jen makes the most unbelievable marmalade. It's not too sweet, it has just the right amount of, she doesn't add sugar or anything, and people love it for their cheese platters and things. So we try to, again, use everything on the property. And this huge, probably from the 1930s or from the even earlier, it's a pomegranate tree. And so pretty soon we'll have tons of pomegranates, and we bring them into the shop and we use them for decor on the tables. We eat them, we juice them, we use them for all sorts of things. Okay, so this is the garden that I started when we had a culinary school, and we used to grow all kinds of fruits and vegetables out here, and we would deliver them every week to the culinary school. And since we haven't had it for about 10 years, but I thought I'd like to continue to grow things here in the garden. So this is a potager. And it's late fall right now, so we've already harvested all the field of lavender back there, and then also we have sunflowers that we've all harvested. We still have the lisianthus that's growing and some dahlias over here. But this was all inspired by Chenonceau, a little farm there, and I loved it because they had these granite DG pathways and this very simple fountain that just kind of gurgles. So when people come wandering out here and we're foraging for things for from the garden for the house, when we're doing recipes and things like that, it's just a lot of fun. But again, it's late in the season, so it's not looking as it normally does. And so these are the raised beds over here. It's really fun. Just cinder block that we covered in concrete, and those are great because then you don't have to worry about gophers or anything like that. And another feature that I love is this espalier. So these are apple trees that we just basically trained on rebar and an inch pipe, and they just kind of grow and line the pathways very nicely. And I think people really love this concept. When I've talked about it, like people say, oh, I'm going to try that in my own garden. It's kind of a lovely feature. Party Girl came when I had my son. So I had my son in 2008, and that was about the time that we moved here. So I was pregnant. We were opening up a cooking school. We were remodeling this house and living in the barn at the time. So it's just like, I thought, oh, I should just get some goats and some miniature horses to add to the menagerie. So Party Girl came at about that time, and subsequently Bubbles was her friend, and Bubbles passed away. But we still have 2 goats. We have Ferdinand and Olivia. And Party Girl is the horse, and she is just a party girl. She's super fun. We let her out on farm day. She runs around the property. We take her on walks. She's just a love. And everybody, when we do have events here, loves to bring Party Girl out. So she's always a part of the excitement. And so this is the vineyard, and it was original, I think in the 1930s. We have some of the original vines over at the beginning, and I was working with a friend of mine, Don Van Staveren, and he makes wine since the 1970s, and he wanted to do this passion project with me, so he helped me revive the vineyard. He got all Grenache plants to grow, so we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and we grow, there's probably about 100 plants, and we make about 15 cases of wine every year. We don't do it for sale. It's a rosé. It's absolutely beautiful. It gets better and better each year. He started using an amphora, which has been really fun. And we serve it at our French flea markets at Chateau Sonoma and all of the events that we host. And so we just split up the amounts that we make. We have it made over at Saintsbury Winery, and it's just a very fun passion project. And how are you guys, huh? I know, we have treats. We have treats, don't worry. So this is Party Girl, who I mentioned before, and this is Olivia, the mother of Ferdinand. They're very, very sweet. They get to come out once a day. Come on, come on. You can have the apple. And they are just part of our little farm life. They're so fun because they come up, and we were painting the deck the other day. Hey, stay down, stay down. Painting the deck the other day, and they come and they're just like part of the family, I'll have to say. This one's a little shy because they're kind of not very nice to you, huh? Yeah, they love apples and they love carrots, but they don't get too many of these. We're treating them very special today, so, you're getting an extra little treat today. This is just a giant hand that came from, it was in the center of a village in France, and it was at an antique dealer with ginormous ceilings, and so we thought we'd bring it back here, and it's made of fiberglass, and the birds all have found like nice little homes in there that they've carved out for themselves, so it's just a very cool piece. People always comment on when they're driving by. So this is the olive orchard too. So we make our own olive oil. We work with Goldridge over in, they're over in Sebastopol. And so Scribe has been taking our olives right now. So they've been shaking down the trees, and they're going to be doing it in the very not so distant future because it's olive season as well as grape harvest season. Okay, so this is the pool area, and I actually, again, George Dambier, went to his house as I was telling you about the photographs. He also had this amazing pool at his property, and it was all tiled, and I thought it was super extraordinary. And so when we put this pool in, I decided to do the same thing. So I was down in San Francisco at the design center and found this glass tile, which is so beautiful. It kind of reflects in different colors of blue, so it's not just like a normal pool bottom. It has like multi-dimension, and I think that's really gives it the je ne sais quoi. And then also it's surrounded, this is all limestone, and this is more rough limestone. I kind of like the rough cut around the pool so it looks a little bit more natural, like you might find it in nature. And not the most practical thing on the planet because some of the rocks sometimes fall into the pool, but I really love the overall look. And then also these white pots, they were used for olives and olive oil, and I just kind of framed the whole pool with them. I think it kind of adds that nice little look, and this is usually planted with white flowers that usually are blooming in the spring and most of the summer. And then we just have some other interesting features, like I like having the mirror at the end of the pool because when you can see it from different angles or you're laying out in the sun, you can see different angles of the backyard. This is a mosaic, it's a crab, and it was made by a Cuban artist named Fuster. And Fuster is an incredible artist, and he lives on the outskirts of Havana. And he went around to all of his neighbors all over and asked them if he could tile their homes. So if you ever happen to make it to Cuba, I highly recommend visiting Fuster's house, because as you're coming in, the whole village is covered in these mosaic tiles, and he's built statues and covered every corner of his house in the tiles. And he's the nicest man. He'll invite you in for a rum, laugh, and treat you like you're his best friend. And this is a crab that we imported from him, and it found its little place here at the end of the pool. Pretty random, doesn't really go with all the other decor that I have that's more French inspired, but it's just kind of a novelty piece, and I will have to say the kids love it as much as the adults. So this is Kala's favorite area in the house too, because she's a water dog. So she spends most of her time in the pool on days like today because it's very hot today. But this is the beautiful seal. It's made of plaster. He's got just a really lovely patina, lovely conversation piece. You can see him in the mirror over here. And this is where we cook out. We have like a really lovely I bought this piece. This is very fun from France. It's a marble sink and kind of based this whole area around this sink because I just thought it was so cool. Look at the different color marble that's in here, and it was a double sink already ready to go. So I built this around it, and then this is the barbecue, and I also brought this piece in so it could be sort of act as a buffet. So this gets used a lot in the summertime. It's got a double stove over there as well. So it's just a nice little place where you kind of get an overall view of the barn, the house, the pool, and Kala likes to nap here too because it stays nice and cool here. I feel like this home has its own spirit. Like when people wander onto this property, they don't really know what it is, why they feel a certain way, but I think they just feel good. Like, I don't know if it's all the saging that I do, but I'm not gonna take credit for it. I feel like this is like kind of some sacred space. It's 5 acres. And it just has this vibe, and especially in the barn, you just feel safe and comfortable. And it's just a feeling that you get more than anything is what I love about this house. And I love that every window you look out of, you see the dream. Like I feel, because the landscaping is very beautiful. We have gorgeous trees, the swimming pool out to the side of the house, and it's south facing, so it gets beautiful light from morning until evening. And just sitting in here sometimes, I literally pinch myself every morning when I come downstairs to make my coffee because I could not feel more blessed to live in this house. And I feel like it's just this building that we pay homage to, and we take very good care of it. Like I just refurbished the decks with Samuel and Juliana. We have a very small but mighty team, and we all work very, very, very hard. I'm not gonna say that we have, we're not actually living in this lap of luxury. We work hard to keep this place looking like it does. And I think that's the other part of it, is that it's just this ongoing, knowing that it's been around here for 150 years, it's being a steward of the house and making sure that it lasts for another 100 years and keeping very good care of it. So what makes a home is just a special place that has like different spaces for entertaining. Like I would say our kitchen is the hub of everything, and we do like recipe of the week at Chateau Sonoma, and we invite friends over, like people that we work with, maybe somebody who's an artist or a neighbor or a friend just over. So we are already making a recipe. So on Wednesdays when we do farm day, we invite people over and share the home with them. So I think that's very important too, to not just live in the little glass house. And I'm all about sharing and having people over. And I have, like I said, a very large family, so I invite them for Easter every year. And my family sets up tents in the yard, and they stay up above the garage and in the barn. So we kind of take over the whole place and set up the badminton. It's just a lot of fun because it happens in the spring. And it's just lovely to get everybody together and have some time where we can, and all the kids watching them go on the Easter egg hunt is super fun. So again, I think it's just a place where people can come together and share this beautiful experience with other people. And this is the barn reveal. Love this space. Okay, so this is the barn, and this was built in 1875 as well, and we haven't done anything to it. It was just this way when we arrived, and this is where the horses would be kept over here in this area. We use that for our champagne club that we have at Chateau Sonoma. This is where I store a lot of the pieces that I have for sale that don't fit into the store right now, so we invite people here maybe once a quarter. We pour them a glass of champagne. They kind of wander around this area. And it's always so much fun because there's always treasures to be found, and this room is devoted to all of the antiques as well. And you just had a nice swim, didn't you, Kala? So, and we store all of our tables for our events back here. We host corporate retreats. We've done floral arranging classes out here. We do yoga on Mondays. So it's just a very lovely space that kind of captures all of the events and allows us to have a lot of extra space for our antiques. Okay, so we try to stage this just like we would the store and show people how they can use the various antiques. And it's just fun because it's like we can do different displays and they look very different when they're in the barn versus when they're in the store, because the store has brick walls and this has more wood. So it just gives pieces like a whole different life in here. And I love the wood floors. They're super rustic. And then we actually built this wall inside here. I said nothing was done to it, but we did put these little panels in just so we could kind of showcase the pieces in here. So this is redwood that we added to that. And I love like these paintings of the lemons and the oranges. And it's kind of the revolving door, comes from the house to here and then to the shop. So we're going to take it upstairs so I can show you guys a little bit about the event space up there. But let's not forget the swans, because these are showstoppers. When we do events here, we bring them out and put them by the pool. People do little photo shoots with them, and they're always just a very interesting conversation piece. So now we're upstairs in the barn, and this is where all the magic happens with regard to events. We do yoga here on Monday morning, so this huge table gets pushed over to the side. We have all the yoga. And then when we're doing a dinner, like a farm dinner, we put this right back here in the middle, and it's just a lovely place. I love it because it's an old table. It has drawers, and it's just a lovely centerpiece. And then this rug also came from Morocco. We have another zinc top bar up here, of course. And my all-time favorite piece in this whole place is that giant mirror that was on a museum at one time. And it's enamel front, and it always says 5 o'clock, so we always know it's 5 o'clock somewhere for happy hour. And it's just one of those pieces that kind of anchors the whole room, and it just has a really nice feeling in here, like I was saying earlier, that I feel like the animal energy, you feel like you're like in a nest, you look outside, and you feel very secure in here. So I think people really get that feeling when they're up here. They love it. We do very, very good acoustics too, so we host like guitar concerts up here. I'd love to get a piano up here. We have a piano downstairs, but not up here. So that's my next goal, but it's just really hard to get it up that staircase over here. And the windows are fantastic. The previous owner actually bought them at a vintage shop and then took out this whole window because that's where the hay would come in with the doors. So he took those out and put these giant windows in, and I think it gives it just the perfect light. And he was a photographer, so he appreciated really good natural light. So I think that was his whole purpose in opening it all up like that. For me, a home is an expression of who you are. So I love music, so I have a piano in the middle of my house. So in the case that somebody comes over that plays music, there's the piano. I also dabble in the piano myself and have my guitars kind of lying around the house. I think that inviting, like, and having this place just be a place where people can come and feel good, like for the retreats and things like that, sharing the home with other people, I think is very important. And our neighborhood is very special because when I first moved here, we used to live in downtown Sonoma where the houses were very close together. I knew none of my neighbors, and it was very strange when we moved out here to the country. It's only like a mile from Sonoma, but I feel like the neighbors, it was like the welcome wagon arrived. My neighbor said, come over, and they had all the neighbors show up to welcome us into the neighborhood. And then subsequently we have waffle breakfasts monthly on Sundays, which is so much fun. And I just feel like it's part of a community here.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you into the idyllic Sonoma wine country home of interior designer Lisa Furtado. The bright and lush landscapes surrounding her historic home provided the perfect backdrop for the interiors, which she infused with a soothing and layered color palette that feels right out of a Nancy Meyers movie. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Lisa Furtado, and welcome to our historic home in Kenwood, California, in the heart of Sonoma wine country. So the living room is the first room that you walk into from the porch. So there's no real entryway in this house. So we wanted to create sort of some sense of transition and entry. So we did a row of hooks here. We have this antique bench here just to throw things on. But in general, you just walk in straight into the living room. So the house was built in 1912, and for reference, that's the year that the Titanic sank. And for baseball fans, that is the year Fenway Park was built. It was a couple years before World War I, and it was also the time of the arts and crafts movement. So that was a decorative trend that started in Britain and made its way to the United States. And it was really this response and reaction to the Victorian era, which coincided with the Industrial Revolution. So at that time, there was mass production of goods and decorative moldings. It was sort of this more is more over the top style of Victorian home. So when that era had run its course, people were really craving a return to a more simplified way of life. And it was sort of the Marie Kondo era of its time, and were the same guiding principles that you should really only bring things into your home that are functional or that you find beautiful. So from that sentiment, the Craftsman home was born. And this is a typical Craftsman home in that it has a lot of the features that a Craftsman would: the low pitched roof, large porch, high windows, wainscoting, and really all of these features are a way to bring the outside in. And this house has the original windows in many parts of the home with the leaded glass, and you can see the wave in the glass. It really adds charm to the home. One of my favorite features is the diamond-shaped grids on the windows. It really adds charm and character to the home. This room is fairly small as a living room, so we added this oversized mirror to really give the illusion that it was bigger. This particular mirror is from Anthropology, and it's just sitting on the ground, although it is attached to the wall, but it just sits behind the sofa. We intentionally kept a neutral palette in this house because the house is so saturated on the outside. I wanted to feel like a rest for the eye when you came inside. So we have a lot of natural materials, neutral colors in here. It feels very much like the landscape of Sonoma. And Sonoma is very casual also. So I wanted to maintain that sentiment in the house. So this is not the main hangout area of our house. If we want to watch TV, we'll go in the carriage house where there's a large sectional in there. But if one of us is here, we'll pop on the sofa and watch television, or we'll put a game on. This is a frame TV, so it's meant to look like art, which is perfect for the space because when you walk into a room, the last thing you want to stare at is a big black box. So this works perfect. You can change the image, although we've kept this image for the last couple of years. Now I'll take you into the kitchen. So one of the first places during the open house that I went to was straight to this window seat. And I sat here and looked outside and really envisioned what the house could be. People that have been to the house have said that the house has great energy. And it's really the feeling that I got from the first time that I walked through the door. And it's hard to explain, but it's sort of like the feeling that the house had a peaceful soul and a happy past, And knowing that the original owner was a female poet and her sister was a established watercolorist, I feel like this house really has some great, strong female creative energy. And I've always felt this sense of stewardship to not only honor the history of the house, but to maintain its beauty and to bring it to its full potential. One of my favorite features of this house is the tall windows here. Now, before we moved in, it was just all sprawling lawn, which was fantastic, but we knew that we'd eventually put a pool in. And this is great because I can be in the kitchen and peek out the windows and see the kids playing in the pool. Another feature I love is this butcher block top on the island. And it's a white kitchen, but the butcher block top really gives a sense of contrast and really breaks up the space and gives it depth and dimension. We do cook a lot in this house because we entertain a ton, but most of the cooking is actually done in the outdoor kitchen, which I'll show you later. This banquette seating here is one of my favorites. I love to sit here and have a cup of coffee, and this is where I love to work from home. We wanted to keep it fairly casual and not have anything too precious in this house. So this table is a reproduction, but it's unsealed. So you can see it's dinged and has water stains and the whole bit, but it's really a space that I wanted people to feel comfortable in and be able to relax. These chairs are antique bentwood chairs, which I love, and they have that kind of rustic, worn feeling with the leather and the nail head trim. And then this banquette seating here can fit so many kids or adults, and we play Monopoly and games around it. And of course, in the winter, we'll eat here, but in the summertime, we typically are outside enjoying the Sonoma warmth. So as you can see, we have lots of cut flowers around the house, and these are all from the yard. And depending on the season, I'll cut flowers and bring them in. But these hydrangea I cut in the fall and dried, and they dry really well and preserve really well. So this is a picture here of the couple that built the home. Their names were Ned and Nell Wilson, and they owned the Kenwood Mercantile, which was across from the train station in Kenwood, and that was really the hub of Kenwood at the time. Nell was a well-known poet and published poet, and she was friends with novelist Jack London, who wrote, as you may know, The Call of the Wild and The Valley of the Moon. So Jack London and his wife Charmaine were storied to have come to the house many times. And I know this because the previous owners, who took wonderful care of the house and they made some beautiful upgrades, they also did a historical report on the house. And I also know this because last year, a man knocked on the door and told us that his mom was born in the front room over here. His grandparents were Ned and Nell Wilson, who built the house. And so, of course, we were excited to talk to him, and he was excited to tour the house, and we showed him around, and he showed us where he'd play outside as a kid, and he came back with 2 huge boxes of photo albums. And we spent hours going through these black and white original photos of his grandparents and his parents. and people in front of the house and around the house. And it was so cool to see the house in its original state. I think for any homeowner of a historic home, it's such a gift to see a house in its original state, but especially as a designer, that information is priceless. We're gonna go into the butler's pantry now, which is a small space, but where all the magic happens, the caffeine and the cocktails. But this is one of my favorite little spaces to come in the morning and the light shines through the windows and make a cup of coffee and start my day. Let me bring you in this way and show you this little, we call it the French bathroom, but it's just this little closet bathroom that it has high ceilings, so there was enough space for cabinetry and a light and a tiny little French faucet and sink there. But that's useful for a guest to have. This space is sort of the breezeway, and I don't know what it was originally, but I call it my artist studio, even though I don't paint much. But we have this antique French easel here that I just keep art on. And we have kind of a collection of some original oil paintings and some prints and some photography that I love. But this bay of windows is just amazing because you can walk in here and the light floods in and you can see the entire yard from this space. So I'll bring you upstairs to the attic bedrooms. So in the attic bedrooms, we kept the original floors, which are over 100 years old. As you can see, they are beat up and scuffed and super creaky, but I thought it added to the charm of this space. So one of our main goals in the house was to be able to bring people and entertain and maximize sleeping space. So in this room, we have 4 trundle beds that all pull out. So we can really sleep 8 kids or adults. We've had some adult slumber parties in this room. Can sleep 8 people in this space. I knew I wanted to do something graphic and fun in this space. So we took the wallpaper all the way around. And this antique rug I had held on to for literally years and didn't have a place for it. And as soon as we put this room together, I thought this is going to be perfect in here. So I love the coordination with the rug and the wallpaper, and love these woven hanging pendants here on each side of the bed. They have little on and off switches that the kids can switch them on when they're reading or playing a game. So we brought the wallpaper all the way around the room, but left this wall out. And the reason for that is because eventually I'd like to put a bathroom up here. A lot of these older homes, the attic spaces didn't have plumbing on the second level. So this is really a space where the kids have a blast having slumber parties and bringing lots of friends. But it would be really nice if there was at least a sink and a toilet in here so they could have their own bathroom up here and not have to go downstairs in the middle of the night. So this is all the original wainscoting here. It's a very small bedroom. The mirrors on the closet really do help to visually expand the space. So I wanted to do a gallery wall that sort of drew your eye up. So this is a collection of a few original pieces, a piece that I got at Goodwill. This is actually one of my favorite oil paintings. It has a sort of dark, moody vibe. And one of these is actually a piece that was done by my daughter, who was 7 at the time. That one up there. But we had it in our house for a couple years, and I thought, I need one more piece up there, and it was the perfect size and the perfect geometric layout that really finished the space. For clients, when I'm doing a gallery wall, I typically lay it out and cut out pieces of paper in the size of the art that we're working with, or we do it on SketchUp and do a rendering. When it's my own house, it's an evolution of putting things up and down and around and just working it until it gets right. When you're in your own house, you kind of have the luxury of time. So this collection really is just that. So trial and error and lots of nail holes. Not anything that I would do in a client's house, but in my own space, it worked. So the chandelier is one of my favorites that I've used in projects before, and it's from Made Goods. It's made of these tiny little beads and sort of has this fabric-like lightness to it. The windows are original with this diamond grid, and all of the hardware looks to be original as well. And some of it's in sort of a precarious situation here. And to open these, some of them you kind of have to give a nudge to, but it is really the most charming thing about this house, these original windows. And I love waking up in the morning and seeing the view through those grids. It just really adds character and charm to the home. We don't have window coverings on the windows because I just did not want to cover anything up, and there's just not a whole lot of space to work with on the molding flanking the windows, so we just kept it open. So we're going old school, just going to sleep in the dark and waking to the sunrise. These pieces here were sort of in the process of the gallery wall, and I had these sitting here for a while, and I really love these particular pieces. They just didn't work in the gallery wall, but now I keep them here because it just seems like sort of this romantic thing to just have your art on the floor ready to be hung at any moment. So this house had these openings here, and I am not quite sure what they were for, and I didn't know what to put in there. And then I found these antique pieces of luggage, and they fit perfectly and sort of went with the style of the room. The house was built in 1912, the year the Titanic sank, so this is sort of a nod to the Titanic. I don't know if that's creepy or cool, but going with it. So I'll bring you into the guest bathroom now. So this bathroom looked very different, although I really wanted to keep the original clawfoot tub. It's not the most functional, but it's so beautiful. We painted the base the same color as the wainscoting that we painted. It's this dark charcoal gray. And we refinished the inside of the tub so it looks as good as new. The diamond grid windows there are original windows again, but we painted them the same deep charcoal color. We replaced the vanity and the mirror, and we added this wallpaper. It took a while and a few different tries to find just the right wallpaper, but I really love this one. And it has these intricate vines, and it looks like there's grapes hanging from some of the vines, and it really just does bring that historic feel to the space. So the floor, I don't know that it was original to the early 1900s, but it was here and it's marble, it's beautiful. So we kept the marble floors. We refinished the bathtub. I really wanted to keep the original clawfoot bathtub. So we just painted the base and had the inside refinished. So the window is original. We just painted it dark. It has the same diamond grids as many of the other parts of the home. We just added the little cafe curtain there. The lights are all new. The mirror is new. The vanity and the marble top is all new, but really designed it in a way that felt authentic to the home and felt historic. So let me take you outside because this is the space that we've done the most work and that we spend the most time in. So the backyard is where we spend most of our time, and it looks very different than it does today. Although there are some original features out here. The tank house is one of them. And in Sonoma County, you'll find lots of these tank houses. If you pay attention, they are like relics in Sonoma. And we have the original well here. The tank houses, before modern plumbing and electricity, they would use windmills to pump the water from the well up to a tank and use gravity to push it down to the pipes. One of the main draws of this piece of property was the large, expansive lawn. But we knew with the warmth in Sonoma that we eventually wanted to put in a pool. We were a little concerned that we were going to eat up the space of the lawn, but as you can see, we still have a ton of lawn space. And the kids are out here all the time playing wiffle ball and throwing a football around, and we put an in-ground trampoline at the far side of the lawn, which was a bit of a negotiation with my husband because he's a little freaked out about trampolines, but this is more for me than anyone else. But we positioned the pool on this side of the property for a couple reasons. It had to have a certain setback from the well and the septic. So we positioned it on this side, but I always envisioned the kids jumping on the trampoline and running and jumping into the pool. We also built this arbor above the fence, and I had another vision of this arbor full of pink roses that would frame the pool. And in the spring, it's done just that. It's so beautiful to see those roses pop and just create this frame on the pool. They only last 3 or 4 weeks, but those few weeks are glorious. This is a place that we entertain a ton, and when we designed the space, we had that in mind. So we sort of have these zones on the property, one of them being the pool space and the sectional over in the corner, the seating by the pool. We have the table and umbrella here, the fire pit with the chairs surrounding it. We have a dining table there, the long antique dining table with the hanging pendants above the tree. And we also have cornhole and ping pong over on this side of the house, and the carriage house, which I'll show you next. The outdoor kitchen is one of my favorite spaces, and it probably took the longest to design. My husband really wanted a all-encompassing kitchen where he could do all the cooking and not have to go inside to the kitchen. And there's quite a bit of distance between the outdoor kitchen and the indoor kitchen. So we really did maximize the outdoor space with all of the appliances that you would need to cook a full meal. We have, starting in this corner, a beer tap. We have refrigeration here, a freezer, storage, spices, of course, a barbecue. We have a side burner here, beverage center, ice maker, trash, sink, dishwasher. A lot of people asked us why we would put wood cabinetry in this kitchen, but it's actually stainless steel. So it's super durable. The cabinets are by Brown Jordan in partnership with Danvers. And I wanted to create this sense of connection with the house and sort of this cottage style of cabinetry, which you don't typically see in an outdoor kitchen. One of my favorite features is the tile backsplash, and it really does connect the color with the color of the house. The countertops are porcelain made to look like poured concrete. And poured concrete, I love the look of it, but it's very porous, and even if you seal it, you're still gonna get the watermarks eventually. And the porcelain, once it's installed, is very durable. It's a little tricky. You'll have to find a knowledgeable fabricator to do the install, but once it's here, it's pretty much bulletproof. We installed the television in the direction of the pool because I had envisioned the kids and adults watching TV and games from the hot tub and from the bar stools and from the lounge chairs. So we really do utilize the television out here mainly for football and baseball games, but occasionally we'll do an outdoor movie out here, so it's really fun. The fire pit is a space that we spend a lot of time into the night, and we'll sit around here, have great conversation. The kids will often play guitar, and even if there's no one sitting around the fire pit, we'll turn it on because it really is a nice ambiance to be able to sit in the hot tub and see that glow of a fire. Let me take you now to the pool house. So when we built this space in 2020, as you can remember, doors and windows were really hard to source at that time. There was a lead time of like 18 to 24 months. So we had to get a little bit creative. And I found these antique bifolding doors that I feel like fit perfectly and really did the job of connecting the new space with the old space. So again, this was a space that we wanted to maximize sleeping space. So we have queens on the bottom, twins up top. So this can sleep 2, 4, 5, 6 kids, maybe 7 if they're small. And we have the bathroom here. The tile is one of my absolute favorites. It's this glass and marble mosaic, and it really does just speak pool house. So this structure here is what we call the carriage house. I don't know what it was originally, or if it was original. I'm assuming not because it has a foundation. But this was a space the previous owners had used as an office. And this was a great opportunity to create a space for the kids and especially the teenagers to hang until the late wee hours of the night. So we have a large sectional, the pool table here. The kids just come and hang, and it's a space that stays really cool also. So the kids will just sort of duck in here when the weather is really warm. But they'll play video games. These built-in cabinets were here I think the previous owners put them in. I didn't love the color particularly, but we painted the entire thing this really dark black navy color, and it really did make this beautiful contrast with the paint. And we did the beadboard ceiling, hung a really large pendant, and just created sort of this cool casual vibe for the kids. The kids are 12, 15, and 17, so this is really the ideal hangout for them. They can come in here and play pool, play the guitar, play video games, wrestle, do all the things, and the kids, especially the teenagers, will stay out here till the wee hours of the night, and they'll close the door and feel like this is their own space. There's nothing too precious in here, which I wanted to create this casual vibe that they could feel comfortable and feel like they weren't gonna break anything. And so we love this space for them and for us to be able to close the doors and not hear anything into the night. This is the room above the tank house, and in my opinion, it's the best bed in the house. You really feel like you are in a tree house when you're up here. It has this beautiful view of the pool. You feel like you're in the trees looking out these windows here. It's, again, very casual. The bedding doesn't match, but I did want to keep it that cool, casual Sonoma vibe up here. This was actually my daughter's Zoom classroom when the schools were closed down. We Zoom schooled from this house, and she set up shop here, and this was her classroom. This floor lamp was one that I picked up from an antique store. I love the intricacies of the iron. This oil painting here also, I picked up at the same antique store at the same time, and I just love the way the colors play with the rest of the room. The rug is another antique, and it fit perfectly between the beds. And again, we use this space to maximize sleeping space. So we have the two beds here and also one mattress underneath that bed there that we can pull out. So 3 kids can sleep up here. You may be wondering what's at the bottom of the tower. It's just a little shed and storage for garden materials and the like. I won't show you inside because I've made quite a mess of it. Let me show you one more thing out here. It's the outdoor shower. In the summertime, people will come out here and actually prefer the outdoor shower to the indoor shower. This outdoor faucet is one that I actually found on Amazon. It was the end of the project, ran out of money, and I thought I'd just get this as a temporary fixture. And it has turned out to be one of the best plumbing fixtures in the house. It has a few different settings. The shower, the handheld. You can wash your feet. And there's also a light here, so people can come around the back, switch the light on, and take an outdoor shower under the stars. I want to tell you about the porch. Typical to craftsman homes, this house has a very large, deep porch. And I always wanted a porch swing as a kid, and I knew from the moment that we bought this house that I was going to put a porch swing in. I love this particular one. It's by Charleston Bed Swing, and it really just does give that southern vibe, along with the rocking chairs. And I love potting plants here in the spring and the summer. So this is my happy place. First places that I come with a cup of coffee before I make my way to the workspace in the banquette if I'm working from home. The house is sort of this periwinkle blue color. And the house was painted blue by the Cundy family when they lived here. And it was painted sometime in the 40s or 50s. And when we moved here, people would ask, are you going to change the color of the home? And I said, oh gosh, no, I wouldn't dare. The house has been the same color for the last 70 or 80 years. So we decided to just really lean into the blue. And that's what we've done on the exterior. So we're making periwinkle cool again in the most classic and timeless way, of course. This house really feels like home to us because we have honored the history of the house and kept a lot of the original features, but brought in our own sense of style. So it really does feel like ours.
Today we're touring the San Francisco home of content creator Bergen Flom. Moving from New York to California, she was instantly charmed by the natural beauty around her and wanted to bring that into her own home.
I was very inspired by the color palette of the redwood forest, so I went with kind of this mossy green for this rug, and then for my sofa went with this rust color.
She reveals how she makes the most out of a small space.
I don't have like a little eating area or eat-in kitchen or anything like that. So I had to get creative. So I just immediately thought, you know, this is a corner. I looked through a lot of inspiration online and really landed on the idea of a dining nook.
Shows us the furniture she designed herself.
I wanted it to be pretty compact, not too big, but also be, you know, kind of a statement piece in a room. It really reflects light beautifully, but also depending on the time of day and the lighting, it kind of disappears.
And highlights the unique art pieces she's collected throughout her travels. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Bergen. Welcome to my apartment in the most beautiful city in the United States, San Francisco. Come on in. Hi, I'm Bergen Flom. You're here in my apartment in San Francisco, and I am a home design, interior design content creator. I really ended up in this apartment on happenstance. I was living in Brooklyn in New York, actually. I'd been there for 4 years, absolutely loved it. But then my partner got his dream job in San Francisco, and we were like, let's go for it. I mean, it just felt like one of those moments where at first we were really, you know, hesitant about the move, and then the more we thought about it, like, we both just got this really strong gut feeling that, you know, we might regret not taking a chance to explore another amazing place. And we really, like, long-term, he's from California, we met at school down in Southern California, so like our long-term plan was to come back here eventually, so it really aligned with our plans. We didn't think we'd be coming to Northern California, but it's been such a blessing. We absolutely love it here. This apartment that we're in today is actually the first apartment that we viewed, which never happened to me in New York, that the first apartment I viewed was the one that we ended up in. And so we ended up viewing a few more just to make sure we love this one just as much. But, you know, we really were drawn to this area. We're close to Alamo Square Park. We're close to NOPA. We're kind of very central in the 7x7 square mile that is San Francisco. And, you know, love the access to be able to go downtown, but also go to, you know, the outside lands and just like Golden Gate Park. And so, yeah, also I learned that this neighborhood is has the highest concentration of like historical, well-preserved Victorian homes, which I definitely, I wouldn't say that like Victorian homes are something that I like really reflects my personal style, but I absolutely love to look at them. They're so beautiful, they're so detailed. I just always like walk around the neighborhood and admire all of the details, all the colors, you know, the fact that someone took so much time and effort to make, you know, something so beautiful and so detailed, I think is super special. And it really, really drew me to this area. But yeah, this apartment, obviously you'll see in the tour, but I love the wood inlaid floors. It has a lot of character. It is a 1920s Edwardian style building. We've got a lot of charm and a lot of kind of quirks that I love that the owner preserved. So yeah, I'm really happy with it here. We've got the bay windows. That was something I absolutely wanted being in San Francisco. And yeah, it's been awesome. We've been here for almost a year. I think it'll be a year in next month. So yeah. So here we are in the entryway. We just walked down this long hall with the beautiful wood inlaid floors, and you come upon what is my bathroom here. I really wanted, again, to have kind of a moment with a fun shower curtain. This shower curtain it's from a small brand called Quiet Town Home. They're actually local, they're in Sausalito. And this style of shower curtain actually is a Japanese style where, I forgot what the exact word is, but you're supposed to take kind of the end bits and create something out of it. So that's what the shower curtain is inspired by, which I absolutely love, that there's a little bit of fun philosophy behind it. And then we have some art kind of surrounding here, and these are some pretty special pieces to me. This first one is kind of, the main one that you see when you walk in to my apartment. Is a piece that I created. Basically, I wanted more like sentimental art in my home, and so I took my partner. We went to these vintage photo booths in San Francisco. They're in other cities too, like LA, New York. But we went to these vintage photo booths and got our photos taken and made this collage out of it. I had these old book covers already, and they were kind of already in this state to be collaged with. So I just swapped the photos that were there with our photos and put it on this colored mat board, got a frame, and underneath is our very ugly electrical box. So I've always been scared to hang things above electrical boxes, but turns out you just have to do it very carefully and you won't get electrocuted. Actually, maybe electricians should tell us in the comments if that's true. But yeah, I really love this piece, and I love that when you come into my home, you immediately see me and my partner, and we live here, and just kind of being able to see us here on the wall and have a piece of us. And there's also just a fun memory attached to it of like going to get our photos taken. I've definitely recommended this as like kind of a fun way to, bring some more of that personal sentimental art into your home. And then above the bathroom door, this is actually a new piece. So kind of a long story. No, it's not that long of a story, but so my name is Bergen Flom, and both my first and last name are towns in Norway. And I recently was able to visit both towns just a couple weeks ago. Bergen is actually the second largest town in Norway, and Flom is a tiny fjord village. It's absolutely stunning. And this is from an artist in Bergen. And she creates these beautiful paintings and using colored pencil and paint. And I had such a great conversation with her in the historic district of Bergen. And I was really happy to bring home a piece of, that experience. And yeah, I'm very proud to, that my parents, gave me a name that holds some of my history and my heritage attached to it. And you'll kind of see throughout my home bits of my Norwegian, Scandinavian heritage. My partner has Sicilian and Mexican heritage. You'll also see influences from those kind of throughout the home. So it truly is a mashup of, our truly who we are and those bits and pieces of, our heritage and our background. So I think it's pretty cool to kind of be able to blend that with a partner. So yeah, that's that piece. I love it. And this is just a pretty one that I got in Sonoma at a vintage store a long time ago, but it's been with me. I've had it now for almost 10 years, so it's a very special piece. And then my bathroom is small but mighty. Renting in an apartment, you don't always get a large bathroom, but I think you can still have a lot of fun with bathrooms. They don't have to be all white. You can, play around with color. This little sun is from Mexico, little ceramic sun. And then this is a piece from an artist named Grace Ferguson. She does these beautiful pieces. And yeah, I absolutely love this piece by Grace Vargson. She's an incredible artist, and you'll see throughout my home, pieces by artists, and a lot of them are people I've found through social media or friends of mine, and a lot of them are up-and-coming artists that are super talented, and yeah, I feel super grateful to have their pieces in my home. So this is the bathroom. So right as you walk in, you have a long hallway with beautiful checkered wood inlay floors that are original to the apartment. And then you see the bathroom right away at the end of the hallway, which is kind of a funny quirk about the place, but I actually really enjoyed spending a lot of time designing that bathroom to be something that would welcome you if you see it as you're walking in. And then right away to the right, you have kind of the main bedroom. This is a 2-bedroom apartment, but we decided for this first room to be our bedroom. And then to the left, you walk in and have a little entryway area. That's where I tossed on my purse, my keys, and the kitchen to your right there. And then directly in front of you, you have the living room. And then the second bedroom is to the left of that area. And we really made the second bedroom more of a home office / guest room space, kind of a multi-use area. It's been amazing to host our friends and family, be able to provide them an extra room was honestly a dream of mine. In New York, we never had an extra room, so it's really nice in San Francisco to have a little bit more space. I would say my creative process when it comes to designing my spaces, really depends on the time and the space and the area that I'm in. So I was immediately very charmed and inspired by San Francisco. And I was really, had a lot of fun just blending my personal style with kind of that inspiration I was getting from the city and from the nature. So you'll see kind of throughout the home. In the living room, I made a color palette kind of inspired by the redwood forest. There's really nothing like walking into a redwood forest for the first time. So I really enjoyed, bringing in those earthy tones and like kind of a mossy color and a redwood tone. And then in the bedroom, I initially went with kind of more ocean tones, and then I am such a lover of like color, and I really missed some of that pop of color, so I ended up making that space a bit more vibrant. But I really would say that my personal style is definitely more eclectic. It kind of, I really lean into whatever I'm inspired by at that moment. I am quite inspired by the 70s, by the 90s, and you'll see some of those influences in my home. But I would say that I really like making super cozy spaces, like especially in smaller spaces and apartments. I think leaning into the fact that it might be a bit smaller. And knowing that most people in the United States live in smaller spaces, like leaning into the cozy factor, I absolutely love. I want all of my spaces to feel like a hug. I want you to be able to, come in and be comfortable and sit on the floor, and all the materials and the textures be something that feels inviting and cozy and welcoming. But yeah, I would say like there's a touch of whimsy and an edge to my design sense. But I would say it kind of falls into an eclectic, maybe modern folk type style, with lots of earthy tones, but I'm not afraid of color. I think that's something that as you grow up, I think a lot of people maybe lose their sense and that love of color, and it's something I've like fought to keep. And so you'll see throughout my home, lots of little moments of color, even if it's more earthy tones. It's something that brings me a lot of joy. I love pattern, I love texture. And yeah, I would say that's kind of my personal style, but it was really fun. When we first moved in here, I made a brief. So during the day, I work in advertising as a creative strategist, and I write creative briefs all the time. And I made a creative brief for this apartment to kind of help direct my, kind of just like my journey and my viewpoint on how I would blend some of that San Francisco sensibility, some of that beautiful Victorians mixed with the, gorgeous nature and the really unique history of San Francisco, and be able to kind of immerse myself in all of that and appreciate that while blending it with my personal style. So that was a really fun process to kind of go through creating a brief for this space. And I created it. I looked at it maybe one more time and didn't look at it again. Just kind of let my gut lead the process of designing. I often like create mock-ups of what I want a room to look like, and I would say for the most part they really do end up in the end looking quite similar to that initial vision, which I think just goes to show that like I know what I want and then I create it. Okay, so once you walk into my apartment, you are greeted by this kind of entryway table area I've set up here. I've had really fun designing this area of my home. So I first got this beautiful mirror. It's from an artist that I found on eBay, actually. He makes these, traditional Mexican punched tin mirrors. And so I got this mirror. It was one of the first things I got when I moved in. I just fell in love with it. And I took a very long time, finding pieces that would complement it and not, I wanted something that would be cool enough, worthy enough to be close to this mirror, but not overwhelm it. So I was able to find this incredible console table on Facebook Marketplace, and I drove to Sacramento, which if you're in the Bay, it's a bit of a drive, to pick this up. And it's an incredible postmodern laminate table. I love the shape, I love the color. You'll see that there are certain colors I gravitate toward, and kind of this rich burgundy tone is definitely one of them. And so I love the way like the curves of the mirror, kind of reflect the curves in the table. I absolutely love that. And then I recently added these beautiful sconces here, from another artist, Pink Lemon Ceramics, and she makes these beautiful, beautiful sconces. They're handmade and fired. I didn't light them, so we'll light them now. But they're really unique pieces, and I love all of her work. And I thought that these would really complement, kind of the spiky shapes of the mirror, add another color into the mix. Absolutely. The blue was a choice. Like initially I wanted to go for something maybe a bit more neutral, but I really wanted this place to feel like an art piece, and I thought going with the blue would really kind of bring that vibrancy out. I remember talking to my sister about it, like looking at all the color options, and she really helped to convince me that this was the color that would really help to kind of, make this feel like a really interesting place as soon as you walk into my apartment. So yeah, absolutely love this area. And a lot of time and effort went into, a lot of patience went into creating it. So super happy with that. And then my kitchen is to the right of the entryway area. So, I will say, like, when I first moved in here, I did not love the kitchen. It's very functional, which is great. Function is, of course, a part of good design. But there were things I didn't love about it, but I do love the little things I've done to make it more my own. So, first, I talked about putting magnets on your fridge. I absolutely love, being able to, I started collecting magnets. And so anytime I travel, I'll get a magnet, and I've absolutely loved just, sharing those bits and pieces on my fridge, sharing, my friends, my family, really special memories. I just got this piece in Norway on that trip I mentioned, and it's done in like a traditional way of like the Bronze Age people in Norway, which were also Vikings. And I learned that I have direct Viking heritage, which is kind of a fun and interesting thing to learn. And I also learned I'm like related to a female Viking warrior, which is really cool. So I love having that up and like reminding me of how cool she probably was. And then I think my other favorite part of the kitchen really is my tea station. So I am a big tea drinker. I don't drink coffee, and I have green tea every single morning. And so I loved kind of creating an area where I could display my favorite mugs and my favorite teas. Even this little detail, my friend whittled me this beautiful spoon, which takes a lot of time and effort, but even just being able to have that little piece displayed with my tea area, I absolutely love. A lot of these mugs are from my travels and from really special places, special people. So I love, I always like to say your mugs don't want to be in a shelf, or in a cupboard. your mugs want to be on display, especially if they're cute, especially if they hold memories. I think it's really beautiful to be able to display them. So yeah, I love this area of my kitchen. I like my tea, like I'm a tea drinker, like a person who likes just black coffee. That's me with tea. So I don't add anything into it. Sometimes a cinnamon stick, sometimes. But no, I really just use the tea, and yeah, it just like, I feel like it connects me to the earth. I love the smells. I love the earthiness of it. You know, so many teas have like incredible benefits. It's a ritual, honestly, in my life that grounds me every single morning. And I absolutely love just kind of having that moment to myself before I get started into my workday, into whatever I'm doing that day, to just like have a warm cup of tea, breathe in like the hot water, and have that time to myself. So yeah, I absolutely love kind of making a bit of a shrine to tea in my home, because it really is super special to me and is one of the few moments of the day, honestly, that I get to just sit and breathe and yeah, have that moment to myself. So yeah, my tea station. So here we have my breakfast nook. You know, I think in small spaces, when I first came into this apartment, I, you know, saw that the living room was connected to where, you know, the dining needed to be happening, right? So like my living room and my dining room aren't disconnected. I don't have like a little eating area or eat-in kitchen or anything like that. So I had to get creative with how to design a space that would hold both my living room and my dining area. And so I just immediately thought, you know, this is a corner. It's kind of a weird corner. I was like struggling with exactly how to design it. And then I looked through a lot of inspiration online. I love Pinterest. I was all over Pinterest and really landed on the idea of a dining nook. And I'm super glad I did, because this is the coziest, just like most lovely place. It's one of my favorite places in my home, and I've really enjoyed making it mine and designing it. So the actual dining set, believe it or not, is from Amazon. Surprisingly, I looked through every dining set you could think of online, and this one checked the most boxes for me. It was the correct dimensions. I really liked kind of the detail, like the curves of the legs, and the character really felt, you know, like it would fit in kind of my more historical San Francisco apartment. And so, yeah, I love, you know, this area. I wanted to make it charming, but not like too charming, if that makes sense. I didn't want to go like full grandma. I still wanted there to be elements that felt, you know, like my design sense. So I added some of these stripy custom cushions, and these were really great. Honestly, before I had cushions, my legs would fall asleep every single time I sat on this. So this was a huge come up to have cushions. It's, yeah, way more comfortable with the cushions. It was interesting, online I asked like, you know, I kind of was struggling to figure out how to finish this area, and I asked for people's opinions, which I often love being able to, you know, ask for that and get people's thoughts. And I got some great suggestions, and so I really now feel like this place is finished. You know, I toyed around with staining the color of this for a long time, but I'm just gonna leave it. I think it works really well with like the floor colors and the other tones in my apartment. And this beautiful art piece is from an artist I absolutely love named Antonia. You'll see another one of her pieces in my bedroom. And she created this piece, Aki, really with this sentiment behind it. It's kind of, she said it was an ode to people that build a home away from home. And as someone who grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, went to LA for school, lived in New York for 4 years, and now is in San Francisco, I know both the joy and the pain of rebuilding a home again and again and again, not just your physical space, but your community, your relationships, just like your acclimation to a new place. So I absolutely love the meaning behind that piece. And it was in my Brooklyn apartment. It was one of the few things that I did bring from my Brooklyn apartment to my San Francisco apartment. And it's a really, really special piece to me. And I just absolutely love that sentiment behind it. The kind of lamb taking a leap is kind of about that leap of faith that you have to make those decisions in life. And yeah, so I absolutely love that. When it came to kind of designing this little corner, I put this beautiful lamp from Wooge. They do like 3D, what do you call it? Like 3D printed lamps, sustainably made. So I loved putting that one in the corner. It's actually inspired by the pattern and shape of a whale. And being close to the ocean here in San Francisco and being a big whale lover myself, I absolutely loved that lamp. And the shape, I think, is beautiful. And then this candelabra is from a market in Mexico. The artist, I got to talk to her for a while, and she really showed me her full process of taking the clay from the ground in the forest and then bringing it out and smashing it with her feet to make it, into a malleable material. And so that's like one of my favorite pieces in this apartment is that candelabra because, it's handmade, it's, there's a story attached to it. And I absolutely loved just getting to know that artist and being able to bring one of her pieces into my home. So that really kind of helped round out this area. Really, my career path has been an interesting one. I, in college, actually, with my best friend, started an art magazine. It's a zine called Trash Mag. It's actually still a thing, which is really cool. But I ran that with her for 7 years, and it really, we were able to create and be a part of such an amazing creative community, and it really brought me into kind of the world of really needing to have creative community no matter what city I'm living in. We started that in LA, and then I moved to New York, and now I'm in San Francisco, and those creative communities have been really important to me. And then for my day job, I work in advertising as a creative strategist, and I've been doing that for about 4 years now. And there's a lot that I've been able to kind of take from my advertising job into real life into my advertising job. I think it's kind of an interesting relationship, and I love the people I work with. I think it's just a really great place. Like, if you're a creative person, having the stability has been really nice for me. And really, when it comes to content creation, I've always been super passionate about interiors, about design. My parents are like interiors obsessed people. I think a good example is whenever we're, staying at an Airbnb together as a family, we walk in, and within the first 10 minutes, my parents are talking about how they would rearrange the furniture, this color would have worked better here, or they from a very young age have trained me to really appreciate design and to look at spaces they've taught me a lot of the rules of design, but also have given me the confidence to break them with intention and be able to play with design, which I'm super grateful for. They're incredible people. And so, it's always been a big passion of mine. I can even think back to college, my dorm rooms were spaces that my friends wanted to hang out in, and they were I would put a lot of time and effort into my dorm room design, which was just a fun thing. But I really didn't start sharing, you only knew if I was obsessed with, interiors if you were in my space. I didn't really start sharing about that passion until less than a year ago online. I, during my move, so I was in Brooklyn, and we got the news, okay, we decided we're moving to San Francisco, and we needed to sell everything. We weren't in the position to be able to pay to move everything. And so we thought, okay, the best thing is to sell what we have, take our, everything else in suitcases, valuables, things like that. And so I listed the entire apartment, my Brooklyn apartment, on Facebook Marketplace, and got a lot of responses back, a lot of messages, and ultimately, this one woman took the entire apartment, basically almost every single thing in it, and replicated it into her Brooklyn apartment as she was moving to Brooklyn. So that worked out very, very well. But the fact that she wanted to replicate the same space I had designed in her own space kind of was an aha moment for me. I think that whole process of people weren't just on Facebook Marketplace, saying, oh, I'd love that chair. They were like, where did you get that? Or how did you design this? Or can you tell me more about this piece? And I just didn't think that it'd be something people were as interested in, but I took that as okay, I've toyed with the idea of sharing more about my passion, but really that was kind of the catalyst of okay, that response was very meaningful to me, and we're making that move to San Francisco. It felt like a big transition in my life, a time to I think moves are a great time to kind of make some of those changes in your life. And I was like, I'm going to start sharing about my passion online. And yeah, it's been almost a year and it's been incredible. I think there's so much that content creation can bring to people's lives, especially sharing about their passions, kind of creating that outlet. I think so many of us, work 9-to-5 jobs or service jobs or things that you're not able to have that outlet to really, express yourself or even have a voice. And I think content creation has really done that for me, and it's been truly so much fun. I think the most special thing is that I've met people, I've made friends, I've talked to so many people with similar interests to me, and making that connection and that community is real. Of course, there's this online element that sometimes feels kind of at a bit of an arm's length, but I feel like I've really been able to, create so many relationships online and create a bit of a community, and I'm super, super proud of that and super happy that it's something I get to be a part of. And yeah, it's been super fun, and the response has been very overwhelming, and it really, is super impactful for me. It's not something I take for granted, and I can't wait to just keep sharing. I think this apartment is finally, in a place where I'd say it's done, even though it's never really done. So I'm really excited to kind of share that. I've been, sharing that process of designing it, and so for it to be in a place now where I feel like it's, I feel satisfied with it, feels really good, and excited to keep sharing as I continue to make tweaks to this place, and super happy to have a platform to do so. Okay, welcome to my living room. I absolutely loved creating this space. I love designing living rooms. There truly is nothing like a good sofa. There's nothing like a good accent chair or a good coffee table. And having those three sing together, just it's so satisfying to me. I absolutely love it. And I love how this room has come together. Moving to San Francisco, I was super inspired by the redwood forest. I think, living so close to the tallest living beings on the planet is really special. And so I was very inspired by the color palette of the redwood forest. So I went with kind of this mossy green for this rug. And then for my sofa, went with this rust color, which I absolutely love. This is truly the most comfortable sofa, and I love how low profile this whole room is. I love how bottom heavy it is. Everything's really weighted. There's not much, space for air to pass underneath the furniture. I just love that grounded feeling. Kind of like being in a redwood forest, that grounded sense. And so, this sofa is from a brand called Pafutic, and you can basically move these pieces really easily, and this slides out. You can make it into a bed to watch TV. People can sleep on it. You can move this piece to the corner so it becomes kind of a conversation pit or a playpen almost, just to kind of hang out. And I think it's something that does make my house feel like a home because it's really comfortable. It's very, multi-use and functional. So I really, really love this sofa. And then these art pieces are from Desenio, and I absolutely love these. They are quite new to my apartment, and they're actually canvas art prints. So they're not actually paintings, which is pretty cool. True original paintings can be really, really expensive, so I think this can be a great alternative. And basically both of these two pieces are Arthur Dove. And he's kind of regarded as the first like abstract American painter. And so I love to think about how at the time that these, came out, it would have been pretty wild to see something like this, to see such an abstract work, maybe a bit controversial. And so I think it's kind of cool to have, a bit of an ode to people taking that risk for the love of their creativity, thinking outside the box. And so both of these are kind of like nature-inspired pieces to complement kind of that redwood forest vibe that I'm trying to create in this room. And yeah, there's a lot of like 70s vibes happening as well here. This is my magazine rack. I absolutely love being able to, as a lover of all things print publication, being able to display some of my favorite issues. I mentioned that my friend and I started a zine. This is one of our favorite issues right here. So just having some of those print publications, easy access, so I can plop down on the sofa, open up, one of my favorite magazines or zines and just like enjoy sitting here. It's something I love. It definitely makes the space feel more like me to have something I'm so passionate about, on the wall. And then moving to kind of the bay window area here, this is something I really wanted in a San Francisco apartment, was beautiful bay windows. I think they're so stunning. The way that light kind of filters through them is so beautiful. And so these accent chairs, it was interesting kind of figuring out like how to design a bay window space. Some people have furniture that quite literally like fits into a bay window. Some people put plants in them. I love the kind of dual accent chairs. And these do swivel. So I'm able to like look out the window. My partner and I like often sit here. You can make them face each other. It's just a really lovely area to kind of be sun-drenched with a book, with a cup of tea. And these accent chairs actually I found on Facebook Marketplace. And it's kind of an interesting story. This woman, this was her, so I talked to her children, and basically they said that these chairs were one of their mother's, only things that she ever really bought for herself in her whole life, which is really special. And they've been in like all of the homes that she's had. She's kept it through her whole life. And she even, when it came time to reupholster them, she reupholstered them in this same kind of gold velour, which her kids hated. But I love that she like stuck to what she liked, and she kept, obviously it was a very special piece to her. And I think that is the beauty of secondhand furniture. There's beautiful stories attached to it. And I think if you're able to find something, that had a story before you, and if you're able to give it a second life and continue that story, it's a really beautiful thing. And furniture can hold a lot of memories and emotions. And I think these chairs are a great example of that. And they're also just super functional, and they fit perfectly in my bay windows, and I was super excited to bring them in. We did need to hire a TaskRabbit with a crowbar to get them out of the crates that they were in, which was a whole thing, but that's part of when you get secondhand furniture. It can be a process, but it really makes it worth it. So love these chairs. They're super comfortable. And then in between them, when you don't have a little table, you can just have a stack of books. So that's what I did here. And I think it works just fine. I honestly did it there. Like initially I put the stack of books to just like have a little bit of a table, a little side table, but I just decided to keep it because it works just fine. So on top of my little stack of books, we have this beautiful shell lighthouse lamp. And so this is also, I feel like I keep saying this is like one of my favorite pieces in my home. I think you can tell that I love a lot of pieces in my home, but this piece is really special to me. It's an abalone shell lighthouse lamp, and I got it at this consignment store in northern Minnesota in one of my favorite little towns on earth called Grand Marais. And there's a beautiful lighthouse close to Grand Marais. And what I have come to realize about this lamp is that it is meant to be the northern lights, and the way that the lighthouse plays with the northern lights, and it just creates the most beautiful colors. It's really magical, really whimsical, And it reminds me of, my home, Minnesota, and, where I grew up. And it's a really special piece. It's also handmade. I can, tell by the way things were put together. So this is another secondhand piece that I absolutely love, being able to bring something from my home state of Minnesota, from a small town of Grand Marais that I absolutely love and I'm really like emotionally attached to, into my home. And just the Northern Lights are incredible. Who doesn't love a lighthouse and the Northern Lights? So yeah, absolutely love kind of having this as like the centerpiece of this room in between my bay windows. So this is my coffee table. It's my first piece of furniture that I've ever designed that's in real life. I have plenty of sketches in my notebook, but this is my first piece of furniture that is real in my home. I absolutely love it. This is version 1. I am currently working on a version 2 that's more of a brushed stainless steel material, just to kind of compare how the light plays with it, kind of the functionality of it. But I worked with this great company called Terra to help produce it. They kind of are trying to help content creators be able to, not just make income from selling other people's products through affiliate links, but also being able to create their own products. A lot of content creators were touching products a lot, brands are sending us products, and a lot of us have ideas of our own for, how to, a lot of us have product ideas of our own. So being able to, I love Terra for having that mission and being a company that wants to help content creators make their dreams come true. So basically, I'm really into furniture design right now. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And being able to have a custom piece in this space is really, really great. And kind of the thought is that I'll be able to, not just have this for me, but be able to share it on a store of some kind, and being able to, share it with my community online. So really happy with this piece. I designed it specifically for small spaces. So I wanted it to be pretty compact, not too big, but also be, kind of a statement piece in a room. It really reflects light beautifully, but also depending on the time of day and the lighting, it kind of disappears in a really cool way. It reflects rugs in a really cool way. It reflects the tree outside my window, bringing even more greenery into my space. So it's kind of an optical illusion sometimes and has a cool effect to it. So I absolutely love this piece and I'm really proud of it. And I look forward to continuing to make my furniture designs real. So I'm starting to work on a few more right now, so really excited. But this piece on the coffee table is a tea set that my parents gave me as a housewarming gift for my first ever New York City apartment. So I've had this for many years. It's a very special piece. And yeah, again, they know I love tea. So that was a great gift. But yeah, having a piece, something that my parents gave me to kind of house warm my first apartment ever, is really special, and I love being able to carry that through all the apartments that I've lived in, all the homes that I've been in. So that is this area. And next we can talk about my credenza a bit here. I know I talked about TVs already. I think it's tough, like they're pretty ugly, but I think that you can, there are ways. I think in this space, for example, I use this beautiful umbrella tree to kind of hide, as you walk into the space, you don't see the side of the TV, you see the umbrella tree. So that is kind of a way that I've been able to hide some of the synthetic black wholeness that is a TV. But, people do all sorts of fancy creative things, to kind of hide their TVs. And I've just decided, I'm just gonna leave it for now. This is where I watch TV. And I do think it makes my space feel a bit more homey and like I actually live here. So I'm just leaving it here for now. But if anyone does have real good ideas for how to make it look better, please let me know. But yeah, so it's sitting on this credenza. This is actually the IKEA Basta TV unit. And so I got this from IKEA. when I first moved here, I just really needed something to put my TV on, and I love the really simple silhouette, again, that like grounded, really bottom heavy, low profile design for this room. Fit very well into the design for this room. But I ended up actually covering it in contact paper, so it's actually white, but I covered the whole thing in a big sticker, basically. And I almost had a mental breakdown one time, and then I finally looked up how to do it, which I should have done that first. And then I figured out how to use contact paper. And, you know, as someone who's renting, I think contact paper can be a great option. It's very renter friendly. And, you know, I think it's something that I had a bit of an aversion to contact paper at first. I didn't love the syntheticness of it. But I think if you have a piece of furniture and you would like it more by putting contact paper on it, I think it's a great way to reuse a piece that you already have instead of buying something new. And so I was really close to buying a new credenza that was honestly like way too expensive. So I really enjoyed being able to just use something that I already had. I already loved the shape of it. I just didn't love the color. So being able to cover it in contact paper, I just had to be very patient, but I'm really, really happy with the result. It's definitely one of my favorite DIYs because it saved me all the money I would have spent on a new credenza. So yeah, very happy with this. And then I'll point out this little detail. These are kind of funny, but my partner's sister made these little figurines of me and my partner meditating together. And I just think it's really cute and silly, and I love that she did that and that I have them in my home. So there we are. I used to be blonde, not anymore. One of the first things I actually felt like I nailed with this room was the lighting. So I really went for very soft circular shapes in this room. And I love this floor lamp. So simple, just a simple globe lamp, but I love the way it adds this kind of medium, kind of like eye level lighting to the room. And then I added this paper lantern. It was literally like $10, but that's the beauty of paper lanterns. They add such a softness and they're so affordable. And I love the kind of diffuse light that you get through it. And this, you know, I have very scary ceiling lights in my apartment that give off the worst hospital level fluorescence you could think of. And so we do not turn those on, we turn these on. So I did want some light coming from above. I didn't want to just rely on like floor lighting. So that's why I added this beautiful paper lantern. And then in my credenza, I added a little lamp as well to kind of light up that space. That's another Rouge 3D printed lamp that's meant to look like a paper lantern. I love it. I think it's really a nice way to kind of light up something down below. And so I think, you know, when it comes to lighting, having like 1, 2, 3, like bringing your eye through the space that way, I really enjoy that in my spaces. So yeah, I would say that's a good thing with lighting. So, and then over here to add even more light down on the ground, I have this big globe lamp, which I absolutely love. And it just adds a nice soft glow, kind of, you know, to bring that light, again, like I was saying, at different levels. So from the ceiling, eye level, and then on the ground. So I really love that this does that. And it really complements kind of the spikiness of my Dracaena marginata tree. I absolutely love this floor plant. It's one of my favorite houseplants. I had one in New York. Now my friend has it. And I was able to get this one from Facebook Marketplace. I found a lady that delivers plants on Facebook Marketplace, which is incredible. So yeah, I absolutely love this plant, and my plants are very happy in the San Francisco weather, which is awesome. But I love kind of the, you know, the contrast between such a spiky plant and such a round lamp. So I don't know if like there's that design thing or the design words of Kiki and Booba. So like Kiki is spiky and Booba is like round. And I love playing really throughout my whole home in like juxtaposing Kiki and Booba shapes to kind of, you know, make sure that things aren't too spiky and too sharp, but not too soft either. So that is that area. Welcome to my bedroom. There's lots of great windows in here, which I love. It does face the interior of my building. It's very quiet, which is awesome. But yeah, this is my bedroom. I had a lot of fun designing this space. We've got a little desk area right here. This desk is one of my prized Facebook Marketplace finds as well. It's absolutely beautiful. I love all the character on it and all the little drawers. It's just like such a beautiful piece and super functional. And then this is a beautiful print that my sister got me from Inafusco, Lord Cowboy. I love the sentiment of this, like, I didn't have to rush. It feels right for a bedroom. It feels like we're slowing down and having something calming. I did install, actually, throughout the apartment, you'll notice these Roman shades. I did install these because I absolutely love the warmth that they bring. There wasn't any window treatments in here to begin with, so I had to bring my own. Of course, being a renter, sometimes that happens. You have to install your own curtains or shades. So I do absolutely love these Roman shades for that warmth, and they filter light really nicely too. So this is kind of the main area of my bedroom. I absolutely love this dresser. I love how simple it is and it's just super functional. This is probably my favorite lamp. I don't know, it's hard. I love a lot of my lamps, but this I think is probably my favorite lamp. It's from Urban Outfitters actually, but I love just like the blobby shape that it is and the way that it brings a really warm glow into my bedroom. Absolutely love this piece. And then really for when it comes to bedroom design, I initially wanted to go with like very oceanic tones in this room, which they still exist in here. Of course, you still see, you know, the rug is this like beautiful ocean blue, and my linen duvet has kind of got this sandy tone to it. But I initially just had those pieces and it felt like something was missing. And I really do think like red is such an interesting color when you feel like something is missing. It can add that warmth, that vibrance, that boldness. And I think with a lot of bedroom design, I think people feel pressure to go very neutral, very calm, which like totally fine if that is what you love. Like definitely do that. But I think for me, I wanted to have a little bit more fun in my bedroom, and not that you can't have fun with neutrals, but I wanted to play with color in here. And so I added this beautiful, you know, red quilt from Schoolhouse. I love the pattern. It's, you know, it feels homey. It feels like something that, you know, maybe was in a family for generations. I don't know. I absolutely love the pattern and the color that this brings into my room. I love like red and blue together. You know, you saw that in my dining nook, or you'll see that in my dining nook as well. So I loved adding this quilt. It's also great for summer months to have a quilt for when it gets hotter. But so I really enjoyed adding the red through this quilt and then through my sconces that you'll see on either side of my bed. I have these red sconces, and they're great because you can move them around, you can pull it out, you can read with it. They're really great and truly added, you know, that pop of red that I didn't know I needed in this room, and I'm really glad I added it in. So I love this, and sconces honestly are great if you are living in a smaller space, or your nightstands are a bit smaller and you don't have space to put a lamp on them. You really want to utilize the surface of your nightstand. Sconces are great because they're on the wall, so you don't have to put them on your nightstand. And then I paired all of this together with this piece by Antonia, the same artist that did the Aki piece in my dining nook. This is another one of her great pieces, and I love the energy that this brings to the room. You know, I think I kind of want to show that like in bedroom design, you really can, like colors don't have to be loud or disruptive in a bedroom. They can be calming, they can add warmth and interest and a bit of playfulness, which I think just is perfect for a bedroom. So yeah, I love this space. So here I have some of my, favorite pieces. This was my grandma's purse, so I love to just have this, and I actually like to use it. I think, it's hard when you get a piece from a loved one that has passed. It's tough to use it. You don't want to lose it, you don't want to break it, but I like to think that she'd like me to be using it. So I absolutely love this bag. My sister got me this bag, which is a really special one as well. And then this is just like my everyday tote. I feel like it's interesting because I feel like this tote includes like all my favorite colors that you see throughout my apartment. And I think that's true. When you like truly find yourself loving colors and you find them around your apartment, you'll find them in your clothes and in your bags as well, because you just love them. So I think it's just funny when I bring something into the apartment and I'm like, oh, it matches my tote bag again. Over here on top of my dresser, we have a couple special pieces. This was a gift from a friend. It is a camera that was converted to a lamp. I love lamps so much, and this is just a really cool one that it was converted into a lamp. And I love taking film photos myself. I have a couple of my cameras in my nightstand, and so it's definitely another passion of mine, so it's fun to have it on display. And then this piece I actually made for my partner for our 5-year anniversary, and it's some of them are like real matchboxes that I had, and then some of the other ones I just designed. And so essentially I put together a bit of a composition of matchboxes from our favorite restaurants and kind of special restaurants. Like I put the one we had our first date, and other places that we have had like special dates or special memories. So that is a nice sentimental piece to have in our bedroom. I think it's hard to choose like one thing that I really, really love, like one piece I love about this apartment. Maybe I'll name a few. But I think that I love that I've truly taken time to make this space. I think in the past I've designed my apartments on a whim. I haven't maybe been as patient enough to like allow the creative process to unfold. And it's been a year, and I just am now feeling like I am getting to a place where it feels a bit more finished. And so I think I love that I took the patience to design, and I would say I love like a lot of the personal touches in this apartment. So, my design taste is a bit sentimental. It's very personal. You'll see, photos of my family. You'll see photos of me and my partner, art that I've made, art that, my friends have made in my home. And I think for me, that's, anyone can put together a space, but it's those personal touches that really make it yours. And so, yeah, I think those personal touches and that kind of sentimentality is what I really love about this place. And of course, like I love that the apartment itself has a lot of character. It's got the bay windows, it's got the wood floors. And then I would say if I were to pick like a couple pieces that I really, really love, I'd say some of my favorite ones are in the living room. I truly believe the living room is like the heart of the home. I love designing living rooms, and I think obviously the sofa that I'm sitting on I absolutely love. It's a modular sofa where it can become a sofa bed, it can become a conversation pit. I love playing Catan, and so I've played lots of games of Catan on this with my friends. And it's just it's like a beautiful rust color, is that perfect kind of like redwood color that I was talking about that I was able to bring into my home. And it's just super comfortable, and I'm really, really happy with this piece. And then this coffee table, my coffee table in the living room, I'm really proud of as well, because I actually designed it and I actually recently got it. I worked with an incredible company called Terra to help produce it, but it's really my first piece of furniture that I've ever designed. I have lots of ideas and lots of sketches, but this one is now real, and I'm super, super proud of it and excited to keep testing out versions of it. But this first one I absolutely love, and I designed it specifically for small spaces. And kind of to be low profile, and something that can really it almost disappears with the reflection of the stainless steel, the chrome. It kind of disappears, which is kind of a nice touch for smaller spaces as well. But yeah, I'm really proud of that piece, and yeah, I would say that's definitely a prized possession for me in this home and something that I really love. Okay, welcome to my home office slash guest room, but it's primarily a home office. This space actually is it was a brainchild between my partner and I, because he uses this space mostly. And so I thought it was a fun opportunity to, really blend our design sensibilities. He tends to prefer more minimalist design. I'm somewhere in the middle, maybe like a minimalist. But this is really like an overlap of our design sensibilities. A bit more like wabi-sabi, very grounded, very earthy, a little more minimal. Maybe not as vibrant in color per se, but still has, a lot of that cozy warmth to it. And I just think that this room is absolutely beautiful, and it's been really fun kind of designing it with my partner in mind. And he's been a huge help, honestly, with this entire apartment. He's been like such an incredible help behind the scenes, whether it's taking a sofa like this into a U-Haul from Facebook Marketplace or installing, shades and things like that. He's just been such a big help. And yeah, so I love this room so much. This sofa is from Facebook Marketplace. It's an Eckernes Amigo 3-seater. It's authentic vintage. Super comfortable. I love the cognac leather. It's just got such a gorgeous color. And I love kind of more of the sleek mid-century look of it. And then it was I wanted to pair it with something really earthy, so I went with a jute rug in here, And then this coffee table, I love the kind of playfulness of the waves. I think it's just absolutely beautiful and really kind of complements maybe some of the more sleek, minimal shapes in this space. And then this beautiful bench here is reclaimed pine. It's from June Malloy. It's absolutely beautiful. I just love the kind of character of it, all the imperfections. I think, with this room, I really wanted to take more of a wabi-sabi approach. And I think this bench is a great example of, embracing the beauty and imperfections. And I love that it kind of brings more of this deeper wood tone into the space. You also see I added a paper lantern here, went with more of an oval in this space. And I absolutely love the way that it diffuses that soft, warm glow and brings overhead light that isn't offensive. So yeah, I absolutely love kind of the shape that this brings to the space and the glow that it brings as well. And then this is actually a Scandinavian design chair. This sofa is also Scandinavian design. And so love kind of having a couple Scandinavian design pieces in the same space to kind of see the way that they communicate. And then this rug is from Mexico, adds some of that warmth. It does add a bit of color into the space. And it's actually beautiful. I was talking to the man that makes these rugs, and yeah, the way that he, dyes things so naturally, and there's just so many beautiful ones. So love adding, you don't always think that a rug can be on the wall, but it can. It can be a beautiful way to bring some color and texture and warmth to a room. So yeah, this space is like kind of a work in progress. It's mostly done, but there's some things I want to keep adding to it. I've been in this space not even a year, and I came from New York with just my suitcases with my clothes and some sentimental items. So really everything you see in my entire home has been acquired over the last year. So there's more to come in this room, but hopefully you'll follow along online and can see how this ends up in here. I'm really excited, and I love the progress that's happened so far. I think it brings a nice slower, calmer feel in the home, which I think is actually fun for an office. I think offices can be pretty stark, and so having an office that feels really homey was a goal of mine. Because it's not always an office. We use this for when our guests come as well. So, and for us living in it, we want to be able to enjoy a space that feels homey. So this is the desk, like the actual desk space. You've got a great view of the windows. And my partner is a DJ, so he loves to DJ here. He's got his deck and his speakers. And then this is a personal piece as well. This is also from Desenio. It's a photo of the first block that me and my partner lived on together in New York. It's just such a sentimental piece, and we love New York so much, and just we miss it so much too. It's such an incredible city. It's so magical, and so being able to have a piece of that in our San Francisco home is really special for us. And yeah, I just love New York. And the colors honestly play really well off the cognac leather of the sofa and some of the other pieces in this space. So I love to have photos. And I think it's something like, of course, you can add smaller photos, but I think it's good to know that you can like blow up a film photo and put it on your wall and put a nice frame with it. It's a great kind of a way to add some more personal art to your home. It's funny because I was like, there's some little details that I think can make a house a home. It can be down to the tiny details of like having magnets on your fridge, showing family photos, like those things can really make it yours. Even, there's big debates online and just in the design community about like what to do with TVs. And I think that was something I definitely like struggled with when I first was moving in here and designing the living room, because I love this space, but then like there's a TV, and TVs are like pretty ugly and big, and it's like this weird black hole in a room. But I actually think that they also make houses feel homier. And so I've decided to just leave it. I think, I've played around with doing things with it. Obviously, if I lived in a large home with a TV room, maybe I would like chuck it in there. But I think, most people don't have a TV room. I think having your TV out where you actually watch TV is totally fine. It's sometimes those little details that actually, I think, make a house feel more like a home. But truly, like, it's the people in it, it's the people that you invite over, it's your friends, your family that come to stay. It's, those details, having things on the walls and in your space that you're passionate about. Things like, for example, I have this magazine rack, and I absolutely love print publications, print materials. Like I mentioned, I have always, I started my own zine with my friend, and then I've been involved with lots of zines. I'm involved with a local zine in San Francisco. And a zine essentially is like a mini magazine that is usually small distribution, very DIY. Typically there's a topic, and they're kind of community created. And they've really been a way that I've found creative community in all the cities I've lived in. And so having a magazine rack where I can display my zines, my magazines, just, things that I'm truly passionate about, having it easy access, I think is something that makes a house a home as well. It makes it you. And I think that's something that I always really try to stress, when I'm talking about design is, finding like, it's so easy to copy and paste everything you see online. But I think finding what makes you happy, whether it's like, those are the blinds that were in my grandma's house, or that chair reminds me of that chair that was in that little vacation, place that I would go to when I was younger. I think bringing in those influences and like allowing yourself to get sentimental and nostalgic and bring those things in, or, like this is, in my childhood home, there was this beautiful painting, and now this painting reminds me of that. Those little details, I think, are truly what make a house yours, and I think that's what makes a house a home.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.